and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Running Point here for a Friday edition. And no, I am not Ron Potesta, guest host Ty Bartell, joining with you today from 12 to 3 alongside my other guest host, Brandon Colangelo. You may know us from covering various Austintown Fitch football and basketball games, as well as various other basketball games this past season. Consider us basketball gurus. But like we said, for the next 3 hours, we will be taking you through this episode of Running Point, and we're going to open it up with a question for any viewers. If you want to tune in either the hotline or via the comment section, sport trends or uniforms that you'd like to see back. We saw that yesterday, DJ Betos and Billy Mack were talking about trends in just culture that you'd like to see back, and they had some ideas float around. We wanted to narrow it down to sports trends and then even also uniforms too, because we also know there's some uniforms. So Brandon, let's pose that question to you for the start. What's a uniform, sports uniform or trend that you'd like to see return?
Well, as far as the uniforms are concerned, I mean, if we're going to go look at a specific team, for me, it's the Cavaliers on this one. And I'm going to go back to that 2016, the black sleeved uni that they wore to the finals and wore all through the playoffs and through the season. I mean, that was just – I just love that uniform. I think it was sleek. I think it was nice.
Iconic too, because if you remember Game 5 and 7, I believe they were using that as a rallying cry in the away against the Warriors. I'm going to go kind of opposite with that, and this kind of it occurs still in sports too. It's football. It's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's that creamsicle uniform. So they still have it as an alternate, but I want that as a full-time uniform. I love that uniform still. It's that bright orange. It works so well too with them being down there in Tampa Bay. But posing the question to you, the audience too, any sports trends or uniforms that you'd like to see back in sports or back in culture today. With that being said, though, you mentioned the Cavs. We'll go into basketball to start. After last night, we saw Suns and Bucks. Are the Suns shining on an NBA championship after an 0-2 lead against Milwaukee? Now, games 3 and 4 are going to be hosted in Milwaukee, but Suns now up 2-0. And I mean, Brandon, I got to tell you, with that game last night, Giannis seems like no matter what he does, it's almost the same arguments. Yeah, and it's almost the same arguments we've heard from people that either love or hate LeBron. They use it either for or against him too. It's the not enough help. But in this situation, is it true with Giannis? Does he really not have enough help against the Suns team?
To be honest with me, I just think he just doesn't do enough on the court. He just can't. He doesn't have the jump shot. You know, he just can't pull up from where he wants. We saw a little bit of it, like we saw last night. We were watching the game, and I was like, he found a turnaround jumper out of the post. So that's something, but he just doesn't have a jump shot. He can't pull up. So he's limited to, you know, the classic meme of him just like charging at the basket, you know, full tilt.
And I mean, it doesn't help too when you got guys Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton
but he's a tremendous passer.
Yeah, a very, very good passer. But I mean, you got all these pieces on this Bucks team that are capable of helping, capable of dropping 20, 30 points if you need them to, but just hasn't been able to do this against the Suns team. And one thing the Suns team runs very well, and what we've seen the Bucks do, kind of what we saw the Cavs used to do a lot, 2007, 2010 era Cavs. You remember Brown as the coach there with LeBron, running a lot of ISO plays. It's a lot of get Giannis the ball, get everybody out of the way, and let him work. And we saw that happen with LeBron. But consistently, LeBron was run into by buzzsaws. The '08 Celtics was a buzzsaw. The Pistons buzzsaw. The Magic buzzsaw. And to me, it seems like Giannis is that same type of player as LeBron, where he is a good enough player to get you out of the East. Once you start facing those teams from the West, these complete teams as the West has traditionally had in the last decade or so, I feel like that's when he runs into a buzzsaw. Because we watch this Suns team play, and it's a complete offense. It is an offense that is designed to move the ball, get the ball into the shooter, get the ball into a guy underneath the basket. And with Chris Paul, one of the best passers all time at the helm, he's really the motor that keeps that whole offense moving. And even with the Nets having their injuries and, you know, the Lakers having their injuries too, that was kind of the perceived matchup originally. That's not the case now. But is this Suns team, even if the Nets are healthy, even if the Lakers are completely healthy, is the Suns team still a team that we're talking about possibly contending for an NBA Finals?
I mean, if they go up in Milwaukee and win this next game, I think they win without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, 3-0 is, like we said, it's a death sentence. I mean, it's how it goes. But even if Milwaukee takes the next game, I don't know. I think it's going to depend a lot on what Devin Booker looks like. If they can really kind of lock him down, it kind of silence him, because even last game he put up 30 points. I mean, the guy is just going to get his points off jumpers and everything else.
Colin, Suns in 4. I have a feeling that might be Billy Mack, the Fernando Tatis picture that falls. Colin, Suns in 4. And I mean, that's a fair point, though. But I mean, Suns in 4 would mean you got to go into Milwaukee. You got to take 2. Does Giannis, and I mean, you want to talk about legacy, too. And everyone kind of hopped on LeBron for the 07 loss. Some people gave him the benefit of the doubt, said that wasn't a very good team with that first time around he lost to the finals.
Yeah.
Because he got swept against that Spurs team.
Yeah.
If Giannis gets swept against the Suns team, is that a hit against his legacy? Because is Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday as good as everyone says they're supposed to be around Giannis?
Well, Drew Holiday hasn't shown up. I mean, even last game, they gave him more shots than he did the first game, and he could do nothing with it. He just completely dried up in the moment. Middleton dried up too. I mean, he just couldn't make the big shots in the fourth and third quarter. I don't know if they're enough. I hope they are. I mean, I want to see him. I want to see Giannis win a game here.
And I mean, you talk about those legacy moments, and you got to figure Giannis needs to take one at home, at least one. You can't go 4 in a row to it. I originally
can't get
called
swept.
Suns in 6, just because I think the Suns all around have a more complete basketball team and just more weapons. And I mean, the emergence of Mikal Bridges coming around this year now. I mean, you saw him and the impact he has just from 3-point shooting wise. And then you add an Ayton and Chris Paul and Booker. I mean, that's a very good Suns team. And that's another question we were kind of talking about too, is it's kind of almost expected that this Suns team is going to win the championship. Yeah. And now everyone's kind of just talking about how many championships can the Suns team win. Obviously, competition in the West is very stiff. And being a dynasty in NBA is traditionally hard because of injuries year to year. We saw teams try to make a super team too in the Nets. I mean, we have perceived that they're going to be back, but there might be some shifts there as well. But everyone's already kind of counting this Bucks team out to circle back around and saying that the Suns team's already going to win the championship again, and counting how many are they going to be able to win. You think the Bucks are going to be able to use this as sort of a rallying cry? Because we already seen Giannis has the capability to go out there and get you 40 points, double-digit rebounds. He can take over a game. I don't think he himself can win a game against the Suns, though.
I don't think he can either. And, I mean, he did it all last game. He put up 40 and 12. I mean, he had a good field goal percentage.
Let alone a series, too. I mean, I'm talking one game.
That's what I mean. Yeah, if we're going to look at, like, a piece of evidence for it, I mean, look at last game. Even though he's coming off an injury, of course, and he's maybe a little rough in the beginnings of it, but he put up 40 points, and he couldn't get it done. And it was a close game through the whole bout of it, and they couldn't do it, but that's in Phoenix. And they're going to go to Milwaukee, and they play different in Milwaukee. Everyone can attest to that. Middleton plays different. Giannis plays different, surely. It's just different energy. It's the home crowd, of course.
Middleton needs to be some sort of production points-wise for this Milwaukee team. And I think even more so than Drew Holiday needs to, because Drew Holiday, I think, needs to just focus defensively on Chris Paul, because Chris Paul is running laps around him.
The dude is just one crossover, and he has him absolutely behind him.
Getting open passes, getting it to the man, scoring boatloads of points. I mean, Chris Paul is doing whatever he wants with that team. And, I mean, it's running beautifully right now. And with that, though, these two teams, the Suns and the Bucks, are two that I don't think anybody was expecting this finals matchup. I think everybody was either saying Lakers Nets, or I heard a few saying maybe Lakers Bucks in certain scenarios, but it was Lakers Nets.
It was Lakers Nets for me.
And the biggest complaint we're hearing from everyone about this finals is that the injuries kind of took away these two super team matchups in the NBA finals. Whereas another flip side of the coin, other people are seeing it and saying, hey, I kind of like seeing these two new teams in the finals and two new teams compete. Where do you sit on that side of the fence? Are you happy to see it? And also, second part of that question, do you think injuries were a problem this year going into the playoffs? And do you think that there should be an asterisk next to the championship for last year and this year, even though Adam Silver says that there's not going to be?
I don't think there will be an asterisk. I think everyone's going to mostly forget about it as time goes on. It is a problem. I mean, a lot of guys went down this time because of that shortened off season. I mean, it was a problem, but I don't think there should be an asterisk on anything. I think it's nice to see these teams in it, because I didn't expect the Bucks, and I surely didn't expect the Suns out of the West. But I'm happy to see it all happening the way it is. I think it's really exciting personally.
And I mean, with all the injuries, we know the injury to Anthony Davis. We saw LeBron unable to get it done against that Suns team. Again, couldn't do it all himself. And I mean, he fell short in some big moments too. We saw him first round playoff exit, first time in his career. We saw this Brooklyn Nets team that was basically designed to be a championship team, win a championship this year, and kind of disband after that injury to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, able to get it to Game 7 against Milwaukee, but unable to get through that Game 7 in overtime.
Toes on the line.
So we see Kevin Durant exit too, and now there's NBA Finals that doesn't feature LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and you got these two completely new teams in there, and it's because of these injuries. And we saw injuries are indeed up from, I think they did a whole survey or a test on it. Yeah, 10 years ago is when it started, from 2010 to 11 season, and they've calculated for these 10 years injuries per, I think, team in a season, and it's the highest it's been in that 10-year stretch. And I mean, you kind of expected it with the season ending as late as it did, and we started back up as early as we did. A lot of these playoff teams had minimal rest in between. But my kind of question with that is that injuries are being kind of used as, not even kind of, being used as an excuse now for two main teams, and that's the Lakers and the Nets. And the two main players on those teams, being Kevin Durant and LeBron James, are the ones in the face of the most scrutiny and also the most, hyped up when things go right. We kind of already know how we feel about LeBron. Everyone kind of has their own feelings about it, love or hate. And then Kevin Durant has kind of come across as this alternative to LeBron, where if you don't like LeBron, a lot of people tend to like Kevin Durant. But that's not the point of this. The point we're trying to narrow it down to is the ultimate GOAT discussion. And we have this all the time. And it's typically a discussion that involves Michael Jordan and LeBron James. And recently, during these playoff runs, we saw that Kevin Durant's name was thrown into that ring quite a lot by a lot of media sources, big media sources too, that are putting his name in this after that big game where he dropped 40 plus, and they considered it one of the best. I mean, one of the best shooting nights. Great game. Don't take anything away from what Kevin Durant did that night, but to call Kevin Durant a GOAT, I guess the question becomes, because I feel like the definition of GOAT and what you think a GOAT is, some people consider it a single player. Some people have different definitions of it. For you, what do you consider when you talk about greatest of all time in terms of NBA and professional basketball?
I mean, he's one of the greatest at his position, without a doubt. I mean, he's probably top 3 at the small forward or the forward. If we're going to categorize something there. As far as GOAT talk, when you start, because you have to start comparing to the guy that set the cornerstone, Michael Jordan. Does he stack up to Mike? I don't think so.
And what I look at with it, and my definition of when I talk about in terms of basketball, and you want to talk about the GOAT talk and, who's the greatest of all time, I don't think basketball enables us to say one singular great player of all time. And I think that's all up for debate. And I think, because you want to talk personally too. I mean, people talk LeBron James and Michael Jordan. I, for years, have said you got to throw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's name in there.
Yeah, you've said that for a long time.
For a long time. And you want to talk about accolades, 7 MVPs, the championships with both the Bucks and the Lakers. Most points all time.
All-time scoring leader.
Plenty of accolades to stack up for that too. But my definition too, I don't consider the GOAT as one player. And I know technically the acronym is greatest of all time, right? But it being greatest of all time, I don't think that can be just singular as well. I think it can apply to plural. And that's kind of where I put it. I think it's kind of more a pool of players
like
that are considered, a category of GOATs. And the way I kind of define a greatest of all time type player, it's obviously in performance, right? You need to have the stats, the accolades. You need to have the rings to be able to do something too and stack up championship wise. But I consider those GOATs, the GOATs of NBA basketball throughout the years, as players that single-handedly were either the face or they carried the NBA as a franchise through periods of time. And you want to go through the 50s, being Wilt Chamberlain, being Bill Russell through the 60s. You want to talk about guys that you talk about NBA basketball, that's the guy. Same thing with Michael Jordan in the 90s. And it's the same thing with Kobe in the 2000s, LeBron 2000s to 2010s. It's Tim Duncan, same time. It's those guys that you look at and can say
Shaquille O'Neal,
NBA basketball. And you might not have the slightest clue about what NBA basketball is, but you know that guy by namesake. And I think that's where I feel like the GOAT is more of a category and a pool of players where these are guys that carried our generation of basketball or carried a decade of basketball on their shoulders as, this is the poster boy that we're going to advertise to everything and try to build the brand, which Adam Silver has done since he's taken over David Stern's role, has tried to build the brand. And he's kind of done that too by building up other superstars. And I guess that's kind of where the next question is going to go. The superstars that we're seeing now, it feels like that there are more star power than ever before. And we see that points are up. They're the highest scoring that we've ever seen in basketball totals. And, guys are averaging 20 left and right. But do you think that as far as the stardom of these players, do you think the fact that the NBA is being pushed as a brand has maybe given some players that opportunity to be a poster boy that otherwise wouldn't be a poster boy had NBA had David Stern at the helm, which it was very, basketball forward, it was a league. It was about playing basketball to win a championship. It's a league. And that David Stern was the one that declined. The infamous Kobe Bryant, or not the Kobe Bryant, the Chris Paul trade to the Lakers that everyone's talking about and bringing up again recently with the Suns being in the finals. So the question then becomes, because Adam Silver has been so direct on pushing brand first NBA, you need poster boys to be able to draw, because essentially then if you're going to push it as a brand and not a league, you're pushing it in the same way professional wrestling pushes it, where you're pushing guys to draw money.
Yeah.
You want to draw money. So are there guys, and if there's any that you could think of, what are some guys that you think are benefiting from the NBA being pushed as a brand rather than as a league?
That's an interesting question right there. I think one person maybe who's benefiting, but it deserves all benefit because he's a great player, is James Harden too. I think he gets a lot of preferential treatments just in the play of the game, but also off the court. And he's also in that GOAT conversation.
And you talk about James Harden too, and I think it's Houston has the strong connection too to the Asian countries, and that's a big thing too. And we've seen NBA is becoming more popular and is more popular in China than it is here in the United States.
Yeah.
And we already know it's at the end of the day, it's end all be all. It's about making money, and they're going to make their money wherever they can. And it's funny because it seems like those players that are wildly popular overseas are the ones that we see get an even deeper push. You see them on a little bit more advertising billboards. You see them get a little bit more commercials and everything. And it's a benefit of what they're doing overseas and as a brand. Steph Curry is one.
Steph Curry's one. I think
LeBron's
one too.
I will say too, Steph Curry, again, this takes nothing away from their accolades as a shooter or as a basketball player. They are still fantastic basketball players.
Oh my God.
Greatest shooter of all time. But as far as being a poster boy, I think the NBA being pushed as a brand has helped with Steph Curry at least, being on those billboards. And you said LeBron, and I absolutely agree with you.
Well, I mean, especially with the whole COVID thing.
With the whole COVID thing, and not to mention LeBron, whether you agree with him or not, has used his platform as just that, a platform. He's used his job as a platform for speaking out on things, and that's gotten him popularity in some areas, and it's gotten him hate in others. But one thing's for sure, he's making the NBA a lot of money from it.
Yeah,
and that's the end all. That's the end all be all. If he's making the money for the NBA, he's going to get the push. And I mean, we know people are a little bit more biased towards hating LeBron too, more than liking him nowadays. It seems like, but there's no denying that he makes money for the NBA, and that's exactly why he gets put in the position that he does. And absolutely. I mean, it's the same thing, and it goes with all those players. But you want to talk about players like from the 90s, and you watch the documentary, the Last Dance documentary and everything, and they talk about how Michael Jordan kind of helped bring that brand of the NBA to overseas countries. Everyone kind of knew Michael Jordan then.
Well, because especially with the Dream Team, I mean, those and those are the GOATs of the era that we know. Yeah. Right? And everyone else is kind of a little obscure to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And I guess the guys that didn't get the benefit from it are the guys that kind of, I guess, came just before and during the Michael Jordan tenure of the 80s, where you see there were some very, very good basketball players that really didn't get pushed to full potential. I mean, guys like we talked about too, and one guy that Michael Jordan played and beat in the finals, Clyde Drexler, is another one.
That's exactly who was on my mind.
Fantastic basketball player, but wasn't the type of guy you'd see on posters and billboards and featured in commercials. Certainly, I mean,
no, but I mean, yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about, is that in the 80s, who was it? It was your Larry Birds. It was your Magic Johnsons. You saw Isaiah Thomas on a few commercials. He had to get a couple of shoe commercials with them. But it was Celtics and Lakers, and that's because those were the teams
everyone
at the time.
Tuned in. I mean, it was East-West rivalry.
Absolutely. But with that, though, as we were saying, Suns being up now 2-0 in the finals, as game 3 and 4 will be shifting to Milwaukee, as the Bucks are going to have to try to fend off elimination for the next 2 games. And we'll see as far as what the Suns will have in store. As far as the next topic that we can go into real quick, as it'll be likely a quick topic, we're going to just talk real quickly about the Scrappers, as they fell to State College last night by a score of 7-3. 2023. They are now 4 games back of the West Virginia Black Bears. They were able to take the first game against State College 9-5 on the 6th, and they were rained out on the 7th, so split a 2-game series. I believe the game that was on the 7th is rescheduled, but Scrappers are 4 games back of the West Virginia Black Bears out of first place in their division. Talked about NBA basketball, and now talking about basketball in another sense, and basketball in a sense of a bunch of sports being conjoined in the Olympics coming up. And I guess that's going to be the next question. With the Olympics being delayed from 2020 to 2021, there's now going to be a 3-year gap between the next Summer Olympics. Only next winter, in fact, is the Winter Olympics now.
Right.
But the fun question that I just wanted to pose: what obscure gold medal would you want to win in an Olympic sport? If you could pick one sport, winter or summer, we don't have to stay specific to summer, but if you could win a gold medal in some obscure sport that no one really talks about, but you could just have that as like an accolade. Like obviously you take the basketballs, the hockeys, the fencing, the popular ones, the swimming, running, all that out of it.
An obscure one, maybe like the shooting ones, like they're skiing and shooting.
Oh, I got
skiing,
you. Yeah.
Stuff like that.
My mind
That's
immediately
neat.
goes to the curling where they do that whole weight and you have to brush
Oh,
it.
on the ice, and you have to brush
try to
it.
get it close to it.
Or like the bobsledding, or maybe it's not bobsledding, but like the sledding, the sled team.
Yeah, the bobsledding teams. I just think of cool runnings
That would
anytime
be
I
neat.
think of that. But no, that'd be fun, and it's going to be cool too seeing the Olympics coming back. But talked about it yesterday too on Running Point. There's going to be some strict COVID guidelines because cases are up over there in Tokyo. And it's going to be.
Well, it's no fans now, right?
I believe so. I
saw a headline,
recently.
I believe.
Yeah, I think so. And it's going to still be weird. And it's weird to see so many other countries are still living so differently from us too, and how it's hitting countries very differently, and how they're a little bit behind in the process of where we're at as far as everything's considered. But good thing for sports and good thing for the world that the Olympics is back, you think, this year?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. Everyone competing on a playing field, everyone on an equal playing field, at least, hopefully.
And it'll definitely be interesting. I know that the NBA stars have come together for their
Team USA,
Olympic team.
maybe.
Yeah, Team USA. That's going to have quite a few very reputable NBA stars featured on it as
Jason
well.
Tatum.
Yeah, that'll be a good one as well. But with that, we're going to go into our first break here on Running Point. As we will come back, we'll talk a little bit of Indians baseball. We'll also talk a little bit of local sports, as well as looking at the Browns, Steelers, and Patriots schedule a little bit more in depth. I know the guys yesterday were talking about overall records of what they thought each team was going to go. But we're going to look at those two teams, the Browns and Steelers, that are predominantly what everyone's fans of. And because I'm going to be picking on Brandon's Browns, he's going to pick on my Patriots a little bit as well. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break on Running Point.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
And welcome back, everybody, to Running Point, brought to you by our friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Brandon, we said we were going to talk about baseball when we came back from the break, and that's what we're going to jump into as the Indians finally snapped their 9-game losing streak last night, defeating the Kansas City Royals. But the Indians now sitting 1 game above 500 and are, I believe, 6 back now of the first place Chicago White Sox. And Brandon, we talked about it, sitting 10 games above 500 a week ago, and now kind of coming back down to earth and playing a little bit more what everybody collectively thought the Indians were going to play like this year. And I guess the question becomes now, are they going to be able to turn it around and make a playoff run, or is this more of what's to come for the Indians? As Michael Page saying, "What's up, fellas? What's up, Michael Page? How you doing?"
How we doing?
But as far as what we've seen too, I mean, the struggles, what worries me too is that the Indians aren't a bad baseball team. I don't think that they're a bad baseball team at all. I don't think that the Indians are a great baseball team either. I think the Indians are borderline good and mediocre baseball team right now. They are a team that I feel like every time we feel like they're getting going, something else happens. No hit for the 3rd time this year. And I mean, it was in 7 innings, still a no-hitter, DJ. But no hit for the 3rd time this year, the Indians, in a very inconsistent offense. And of course, injuries have plagued them terribly this year. Yeah. But they're a team that just feels like when we play the bad teams, we can beat up on them. We can beat up on the Tigers. We can beat up on the Royals. But when we play the Yankees, when we play the Astros, when we play the Rays, when we play these teams that we know we're going to see in the playoffs, and we're losing, and not even just losing by a run. I'm talking losing
10 runs,
big games, or having a big lead like we did against Tampa Bay and losing that lead
every time.
And it's like you see this, and it becomes almost more frustrating. Like, you hate to see your team play bad, and I've seen my fair share of Cleveland teams playing bad, but you almost hate to see them play mediocre. Even a little bit worse, I'd hate to say it. You hate to see your team just kind of tread water, because then you feel like you're not going anywhere. You're stuck in purgatory. At least if you're at the bottom of the basement, you know you got some picks coming around. You're able to draft some guys. You're going to get some young talent. And if you're at the top, you're at the freaking top anyway. So who cares at the end of the day? But
and I think it's frustrating looking from the outside at the Indians, though, and seeing that they trade Francisco Lindor. They cut their pitching all the way down.
And I mean, Ahmed Rosario playing better than Francisco Lindor offensively up to this point. Michael Page saying Indians season is over with. Unfortunately, at least they have found some big bats in Bobby Bradley and Franmil Reyes. And I mean, totally agree with that. Franmil Reyes and Bobby Bradley, since coming up, that's your left and right-handed power bats, 1-2 punch right there. I like what the Indians have as far as young talent is concerned. I've just been waiting for them to pull the trigger on making that trade for that other bat that they seem to be lacking right now. And I understand they kind of wanted to hold everything up with the injuries to Plesac, to Shane Bieber, and to Savali, but it just seems like the Indians' one struggle all year has just been hitting. When you get no hit 3 times in a single season, there's obviously struggles coming there.
It's always that, it seemed like, with them, man. I mean, they always just seem to lack that one bat. And then as soon as they seem to get Michael Brantley on the roll, they ship him out.
Yeah.
As the one consistent bat that they seem to have.
We know how the Indians have to play with the payroll and how they play their style of baseball. So we knew going into this season and from last season into this season, if you thought that Francisco Lindor was going to be wearing a Cleveland uniform past last season,
horribly mistaken.
Yeah, you're delirious.
Truthfully.
Because the Cleveland Indians have been a team that have consistently not signed and re-signed big name talent and have just consistently let guys go. And we've seen guys on YSN like Billy Mack that have jumped ship and are now Padres fans too. And some guys stick with their team too. And it is frustrating, but that's just how we have to play baseball. But you see how it works out sometimes. And when we ship out Francisco Lindor, he gets that big contract from the Mets.
Yep.
And he's batting just over the Mendoza line.
Yeah.
And it's like, you see that and you feel a little bit better. People are still complaining that we don't have Francisco Lindor. I understand the defense at short is one of the best, but that's how we have to play baseball. We can't afford a $300 million contract.
No, especially when you offer him $200 and he says no.
And we got so many shortstops and prospects in the minors that are going to be ready to come up. And that's just how the Indians have to play baseball. One thing I will say, though, I do think the Indians, by the end of the season, will have a winning record at the very least. I do think that, just because I think this is a good enough team to win. I don't think it's a good enough team to compete in deep playoff runs. Yeah. But we'll see. As summer is usually the time for the Indians, but a 9-game skid, we'll see if Francona can get something going with them. But the thing with the Indians is they're never too far off from competing again, is what it feels like, because how they draft pitching, how they draft hitting, and how they really just built up the minor leagues and everything. And with that, we can actually kind of look through the baseball standings right now and kind of make our predictions at the All-Star break and kind of going forward what we expect to see out of each division and maybe predict a couple of wild cards right now while we are here. So let's bring this down and let's pull this guy up. So over in the AL East, Boston still leading that one. I mean, that's another close one. Boston at 54-34, Tampa Bay 51-36, 2.5 games back. Dips off then as Toronto's 8 back. Yankees are 9 back at 44-42. How about that too? We don't even talk about that. I'm sure Jeff Bezos is loving his Yankees and how they're playing right now. But Tampa Bay and Boston, that's going to be a competition for the AL East. Toronto, New York, and Baltimore rounding it out. Baltimore well out of it. And it's almost the same thing in the Central, but it's a little bit worse. The White Sox are 51-35, and it just jumps right off. Indians are 43-42, 7.5 back, 7 back in the loss column, and it's looking dismal, but we'll see. Houston leading their division. Oakland's 4.5 back. Mets are leading their division with Philadelphia 4 back. Atlanta 4.5 back. Washington 4.5 back. As all those teams are trying to figure out their identities over there in the National League East. Milwaukee still leading their division, and San Francisco a game up on the Dodgers, 4 up on San Diego, with Colorado and Arizona both firmly out of it. I mean, the ones that are close races right now, and the one that I think could have a shift is Boston and Tampa Bay. And that's only because Tampa Bay being there last year and the pitching of Tampa Bay is so good. And I'm still a firm believer, baseball-wise, pitching is going to get you further into a season and further into a playoffs than that. But we'll see. Tampa Bay 2 games back in the loss column. And, I mean, still plenty of baseball left, too. And then you look between the 1 and 2 team there, between Chicago and Cleveland, and that can have a little bit more discussion. with Chicago 7.5 up, 7 up in the loss column. It's going to take a lot.
That
to get
9-game skid hurt.
It is going to hurt. And being 1-9 in our last 10, Chicago being 7-3 just allowed them to make up so much ground. But looking at the schedule, we'll have to take a look at the schedule and see how many more times upcoming they are playing the White Sox, because that's going to be what you need to make your games up on. You're going to have to look at it, and I think they've already gotten a few of their series out of the way. So they have a 3-game series at the end of the month in Chicago, as well as one more series, a 4-game series in September against Cleveland. So you're only playing this team 7 games. You need to get back 7 games. We know playing the team that you're behind is the quickest way to make up ground, but you need to hope that this team loses. The other possibility that the Indians have right now is the wild card situation. And the wild card situation right now, as the Indians 5 games back in that, 3 though in the loss column. Oakland sitting in second place, 50-39 their record. Indians have had a lot of rain out, so they've played significantly less games than Oakland, but still pretty far back. And there's more teams you're competing with in the wild card in the divisions. The easiest way to make it to the show, but Indians are going to have, it looks like a tough time sledding going forward. But what's the strategy going forward right now for Cleveland? I mean, do they make a trade? Are they buyers or sellers at the trade deadline now? Because you're a game above 500, you're treading water, you're not far enough out of it to really give up, but you're not really right up into the division race to make a run.
When's the trade deadline again?
End of the month, I believe. I don't know the exact date, but it is the end of the month. I want to say it might be just the last day.
Before the All-Star game?
No, I don't believe so. I think it's after. Let me see. I'll get you the confirmation on that. It is July 31st. Yep, end of the month. So you have until the 31st. So realistically, 22 days to make a move. And granted, a lot could happen in those 22 days. You got the All-Star break, so how many games the Indians have in the next 22 days is going to see. We'll check that out as well, because the All-Star break is coming up after their series with Kansas City. So you have 17 games, including the July 31st game, Indians and White Sox, but the trade deadline's usually at 4, so 16 games, call it. And of those 16 games, you ready for this? Tampa Bay comes into town for 4, the team who just swept the Indians 3-0. We go to Houston for 3, the team that just swept Cleveland 4-0 in Cleveland. And we go to the leading wild card team, or the second place wild card team, in the Oakland A's for a 3-game series after our next 3 with the Royals.
Wow.
And that is all after the All-Star break. But you go Oakland, Houston, Tampa Bay. I think those 3 series, and then you play a 2-gamer with St. Louis. The Cardinals come into town, and then you start a series with the White Sox in Chicago. But I think those 3 series of Oakland, Houston, and Tampa Bay are going to determine if the Indians are going to be buyers or sellers at the point of the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably going to be sellers, you figure.
At that point, well, you got to figure if you're under 500, like bad, if you're like 4 games under 500 by the end of July, 2 months left, you probably need to scrap the season. There's not really enough time, I don't think, to make that comeback. But we will see, as the Indians will have some tough waters ahead, and they just got rocked by these teams. They're going to have to play them all again out of the All-Star break and hopefully have some better luck against them. But other than that, I mean, teams making noise. I mean, Boston's been a real big surprise. And how about San Francisco being a surprise over there in the National League West? Everyone was talking Padres and Dodgers, and the Giants out of nowhere.
They're leading it.
Leading the whole division. But Going into the All-Star game, we saw both Jose Ramirez and Shane Bieber getting All-Star nods again for the Indians. So both of them will be representing Cleveland in the All-Star game. And All-Star game now, going to be interesting. Is that a game you typically try to watch, Brandon?
Honestly, with you, I don't see the actual All-Star game that many times. The MLB All-Star game. No.
Due up for this upcoming Tuesday, July 13th at 7:30. They took away the stipulation a few years back where the winner got home field advantage in the World Series. So if the American League team won, the AL team in the World Series got to represent and be the home team. A lot of people didn't like that, though, as they felt the team with a better record should get home field advantage. And some people liked it, some people didn't. I kind of leaned more towards liking it just because it made the All-Star game mean something for once.
That's what I mean. I kind of like the fact that it did something.
I was a fan that the All-Star game didn't feel like just a pointless
get together.
Yeah, a pointless get together game, and it actually meant something for some of those players too, and especially the ones that are competing, thinking that they can make that.
I kind of like that. I mean, because you're on the field right now, and you're thinking in your head, well, when I'm next on the field, I want to be in my ballpark rather than their ballpark.
Exactly, and All-Star games in sports are some things that they need an improvement on some of these All-Star games. They really do. Like the Pro Bowl has been
it's just so
dismal for years. I can't tell you I don't think I've ever watched a Pro Bowl to completion in my life.
I don't think I've ever sat down and actually watched a Pro Bowl.
I've thrown it on.
Maybe the last time was like 2015.
Yeah,
maybe.
I've thrown it on maybe 10 minutes. I'll watch it. Cool. And then they throw up the graphics of like how much these guys are getting paid extra if they win. Like, I don't care. I don't care that they're like. That's the biggest thing with me too, is that all of these sports, and this is a heads up to NHL, NBA, MLB, whatever. You giving your players more incentives as far as financials are concerned doesn't make me more interested to watch it as a viewer. So the MLB with the home run derby saying we're going to give the winner $1 million doesn't do it. I understand the purpose, though. Don't get me wrong. I understand the purpose. Yeah. You want to draw the bigger stars because they don't get big names in the home run derby. But like the NFL telling me like, oh, this team, you're going to win this much more money if you win this game. And it's like
this incentive. Yeah.
I don't care that millionaires are making more money.
I feel really weird about that too.
It's like, thanks.
Thanks.
I don't, we don't go around telling people, disclosing what we're making week to week. And
yeah, it's a little.
But talk about that. Wish that was like in a real.
But I mean, as far as like, if we're going to go back to like All-Star games, the NBA has done a good job with like the skills challenge, bringing that back.
I like that more than I like the actual All-Star game itself.
That's what I mean.
I like the challenges. I like
because the All-Star game now they've mishmashed and changed it up a lot. I'm kind of indifferent about
It's weird because now they're trying to honor Kobe every year, and it's like the first team to get 24 now
in a quarter. It's like it sets a. It's kind of confusing to me, honestly. The rules are really.
They're trying to change it up, and I mean, commend them for trying to make it relevant and watchable and get people into it.
I mean, you see the big point totals. It looks neat, I guess.
It does, but yeah, I don't know, man. I'll tell you what, though, and I'll tell you what's doing good for baseball's All-Star game right now. It's that guy playing out in LA, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
He has been so good for baseball this year. It is absolutely unbelievable how good he's been for baseball this year. And as far as just bringing viewership back to the sport again. Because you see the constant comparisons to Babe Ruth because of what he can do pitching and hitting wise. He's going to pitch and hit in the All-Star game. He's participating in the home run derby.
That's absurd.
That's crazy. It's so nice to see because you don't see these big name stars participating, and that's why the home run derby and things like that are so stale. It reminds you of the Olympics before they started letting pro players play. Like you can't. I mean, it's not the same as if you take the best home run hitters and throw them in the home run derby, and if you take the best dunkers and throw them in the dunk contest. or the best 3-point shooters and make that happen. I don't know.
I mean, it's definitely equivalent as far as like dunk contests are concerned, because like LeBron never participated in dunk contests, and that dude gets up.
Yeah.
And he's never.
And they were talking to yesterday on Running Point about Shohei Ohtani, and the discussion was, is he already in one of the greatest of all time discussions? I don't think so by a long shot. It's way too early.
That's fair.
I think that's easy to throw off and say that it's way too early. Does he have the potential to be if he can stay healthy?
He keeps doing this.
That's what I kept on saying too. How realistically is it that Shohei Ohtani stays healthy year to year, pitching and hitting at a major league level?
Tough,
and can he keep up the production? I mean,
cryotherapy.
Like, he's on pace to hit 50-plus home runs and have an ERA under 3 pitching. Like,
it's absurd.
It's absolutely absurd, and it is. If he stays healthy, it's a generational, once-in-a-lifetime type player. I do truly believe that. Just in the same way that Babe Ruth was that generational, once-in-a-lifetime player. In the same way, too, that I think, and it's a little bit different because it was multi-sport, but a guy that you could kind of compare the hype to, as the hype was bigger, and I'm not going to say that Ohtani's hype is matching it, but the hype is similar to what we saw the hype for Bo Jackson being with the Raiders and the Royals and getting all that. And of course, what Bo Jackson did is way more impressive, dual sport athlete rather than just two very different positions in one sport. But nonetheless, it gets people talking about the sport again. And that is what I'm excited for baseball, because baseball has been dying, and as far as viewership, this kind of guy helps get those viewers numbers up, because whether you watch baseball or not, you hear about what this guy's doing. You feel the need to tune in.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, I mean, it just brings so much viewership. It's really great for the sport.
I mean, we saw that 2-week stretch where I think Ohtani hit like almost a home run a day for 2 weeks.
It's crazy.
In between starts where he pitched 6+ innings, had quality starts both times. But the worst part about it is he's on the Angels, on a team that is not competing, not a chance to make the playoffs, but definitely a guy I'd love to see, and I feel like we should see live at some point, either when he comes to Cleveland.
I'd love to.
Sometime this year. We should definitely try to see it. But I mean, Ohtani doing great things for baseball right now. And as far as like drawing, we talked about Kevin Durant. We talked about those basketball players and how they've been able to draw. This guy's got to be drawing money all over right now.
He has to. His name's everywhere.
You see it every time they go to any ballpark. There's plenty of people coming just to see this guy because they just want to see Ohtani. And it's wild to see it because it feels like baseball players back in the 90s where everyone with the Mark McGuires, the Sammy Sosas, and the home run races, and then you had the Barry Bonds and just the big names before the steroid era, and how everyone just wanted to come see these players. And it's crazy because it feels like Mike Trout didn't even get that kind of recognition. And Mike Trout is a fantastic ball player too. I mean, I think one of, if not the best in baseball right now at his position and as far as batting is concerned. But he's not even getting he doesn't get the numbers and the draw that Ohtani's getting right now. And I mean, fair enough, I guess, because the guy is doing something that we haven't seen in 100+ years. And I mean, that's incredible in itself. The comparisons to Babe Ruth is what they're going with, and they love going with the comparisons. So we'll see how the career pans out. I hope he stays healthy, but I think that is going to be one of the tougher challenges for him going forward, because a lot of arm injuries arise with pitchers, and being in a batter's box, it heightens your risk as far as injury is concerned. I mean,
get hit with something.
Pitching already is so strenuous on the arm and the shoulder, and it already is like injuries already arise from pitching a lot. And then you add in the fact that this guy is going to be batting every day that he's not pitching, and it's like, oh boy, now
that's a lot of stress.
This guy is you can't afford to lose him too, because right now he's your franchise. Him and Mike Trout together. And that's crazy too that they have him and Mike Trout.
That is pretty
on the same team. That's and look where they are in the standings still, unable to make
nowhere.
unable to make any noise. But I mean, speaking on baseball, how about this too? And I know Jeff Bezos is going to love this. I saw this, I think yesterday. I don't know if it was. I think it was a post too to close out our baseball segment before we go into our next topic before our break. But the Houston Astros for the Yankees coming into town for a 3-game series gave away a 2019 replica ALCS ring, a 2019 replica ALCS trophy, and the Jose Altuve jersey, the guy who won MVP in the series against the Yankees in 2019. What do you think about it as far as Houston? I mean, spiting, I guess, the Yankees. Everyone, we know what Houston did. We know that they're the bad guys, but they're kind of playing into it now, saying, look at the hardware from 2019 that we took from you.
I mean, at this point, you might as well, right?
You got to play into it.
You have to live up to the villainry at this point.
And it's against the Yankees, so it's got a lot of people torn because people hate the Astros, but you also really hate the Yankees too.
Oh yeah.
So it's like it's funny to see the Yankees get spited a little bit, but at the same time, it's like with the Astros, because that's how I feel about it, at least. Because I mean, you talk to me about two teams I cannot stand in baseball: Houston Astros and New York Yankees.
The Houston Astros are garbage. I mean, what they've done. I mean, the cheating that they've gone through.
And I mean, it's all in the past now. And I mean, I understand. Just play baseball at some point.
Yeah, play on, but
I saw that and I thought that was funny too that they decided to bring that back up too and consider the rivalry. Good for the sport though, as far as bringing more money into the sport, bringing fans into the stands when you try to create those type of rivalries and animosity. I mean, makes people look up to that game.
It gets people going. I mean, people want to go. I mean, you get people in seats. I think that's good for them. And that's good promotion.
That's another interesting topic too, and we've seen it for years too, since the 80s with the Lakers and Celtics, mainly because of the championship. But we're seeing rivalries in sports between teams that aren't even in like the same division or same conference, but for some reason it's like those two teams just always clash. And right now it's Houston and the Yankees right now that seem to have that big clashing point, as well as Houston and the Dodgers as well, just because of the snub there. But how about the fact that the Red Sox we haven't mentioned the Red Sox at all?
They've just been quiet.
And Cora dipped. I mean, I know they never got like investigated, I guess, but I mean, we've been talking the Astros all this time. We have not said a single thing about the Red Sox through.
You don't hear anything about it. It's been pretty quiet on that front, right? I mean
and that, you know what? That actually just made me remember too. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about. We talked about this last night, Brandon, about how we were watching the finals with the Suns and the Bucks, and we like it because it's two new teams.
Mm-hmm.
But the hatred for teams, does it come from just a team playing your team in a championship scenario? Because I can tell you for a fact, I did not care about the Warriors. Like, I didn't like them, didn't dislike them, was indifferent about the Warriors before 2016.
Yes.
And since 2015-16, I've hated the Warriors since. Same thing with the Chicago Cubs. I actually liked the Chicago Cubs prior to 2016 because I loved them as the lovable underdogs.
Mm-hmm.
After the series with Cleveland, I've never felt the same about Chicago since, and I've not liked the Cubs. Is there anything like that with you? Or, I mean, pose a question too to the audience. Are there any teams like that you've had that maybe played your team in a big championship game or a big game, and you can't let go of that animosity you feel towards it? And my biggest thing was the Warriors. The reason I actually started hating the Warriors, and before I get to you, was that whole comment about Steph Curry making about hoping the champagne in the locker room. The locker room still smells like champagne.
That one still rings on
that
you.
was the one where it was like, and I was glad we ended up winning. But anything like that for you, as far as like a team that you just feel animosity towards?
It was always the Warriors. I mean, that's when I really, really got into basketball. And so that's the Warriors really were the ones I always shoot my anger at, frustration, and no matter what they did, especially because it was just the arms race with them, with LeBron, and then they get Kevin Durant with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. I mean, they were just the best team. It's easy to hate them when they have everybody.
And when I talk about teams too that I hate, and I talk with my dad, who's of an older generation too, about teams he hates, and it's funny because they oddly align, because he hated the Bulls because of what Michael Jordan did to the Cavs, and back then he hated the Yankees because of what the Yankees and Indians always had, and I mean the Braves, he had animosity towards the Braves too for a little bit, but no, I mean that it's very, very real in sports too, and you get that animosity over one game or one incident, and you can feel that way towards the team for a very long time. But we'll take a break here on YSN Live as our first hour of the show is now concluded. We'll come back with the top of the second hour and a couple of new topics for you here on Running Point right after this.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and 2 of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Welcome back, everybody, to Running Point. Ty Bartell joined alongside Brandon Colangelo as special guest host for Ron Potesta, who is currently out right now, as we wish Ron the best, as we hope he gets back in a speedy recovery after being under the knife yesterday. Be sure to call into the hotline at 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. And with the next question for the second hour of the show that we're going to pose to you and hear from the fans, either in the comment section or on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline, we're going to ask I just had it. Oh, there we go. Which high school football team has the toughest schedule going into this season? Which high school football team has the toughest schedule going into the season? Ohio high school football. Obviously, we like to see one represented by YSN, but yeah, any Ohio high school football team that has the toughest schedule going into this season. I mean, looking at some schedules too. I mean, we've glanced at a few schedules too. Back to the 10-game schedule, as we know, they're off of the 6 game that we did last year. But some questions I have for some teams that are going to be interesting. The one question I have is Warren JFK is, can the Eagles fly without Cam Hollabaugh? I mean, Division 7 made it all the way to the championship. fell in that one, but they're going to be without Cam Hollowell. Let's see if they can have that same success without Cam being there. Another question, though, this one kind of close to you guys. You were there covering it. Devin Sherwood coming back for the Austintown Fitch Falcons this year after that injury in the game against Harding, where they fell in that playoff game. We saw the shoulder injury. He got shoulder surgery, missed the entire basketball season. He's coming back now. Senior year for Sherwood, and this is the time for him to make some noise for the Falcons.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting because he was really showing out for those 7 games that he played. I mean, just whipping the ball down the field, getting great yards, super accurate.
You're talking to there's some key departures there. Another team too that we were going to look at. Bo Brungard with Springfield. He's back this year. Is the third time the charm as Springfield making it to the state championship last 2 years, falling in both of them. Can they make it back a third time and finally grab that brass ring is going to be the big question. So with that, why don't we take a look at those 3 schedules, as Warren JFK will be the first one we'll take a look at. As the JFK Eagles will be without Cam Hollowell. Open up the season against Struthers in an away game on the 13th on a Friday, very early game. And they play Champion on the 20th, Western Reserve on the 3rd, or the 28th, excuse me, Garfield on the 3rd, Conneaut area, Harding, Mogador, Rootstown, Aquinas, Cleveland Central Catholic, CCC, and then the Southeast Ravenna Pirates. So, I mean, schedule, play some pretty good teams. Struthers isn't going to be a bad team. We know how Champion is. Western Reserve is usually up there. Southeast, not a bad team either. I mean, it's going to be tough because you're talking about a senior that was tri-sport athlete. He got a scholarship to Walsh for both football and baseball. Just a tremendous athlete. Losing someone like that, Brandon, I guess, is the big question too. When you're a coach for a team or you're a part of a team itself, whether or not you've been on it or you've witnessed that the teams that have that guy, and you kind of know who that guy is by the way that they play or by the way they walk into the room. You know who the captain or the guy is on the team. We've seen teams in professional settings lose that big name and have completely fell apart. We've also seen teams lose that big name and have rose to the occasion. Yes. But this is a guy that just won you a state championship in baseball that you're going to be without. What do teams do? What do you do as a coach, and how do you react as a player when you lose that guy? And I mean, whether it's high school or college, and he ages out, or in professional sports, free agency, when you lose that big piece to your team, how do you react as a coach to try to keep that team competitive without that centerpiece that you had previous?
Well, I mean, you're just going to need production out of the guys on that team. I mean, you're going to need more out of them because you're just missing the person that could go and get you whatever you needed, and you planned for that. Now that it's gone, I mean, you're going to have to look to the rest of your team, and if it comes down to it, you're going to need to bring guys onto the team.
And I mean, the next one we wanted to look at too with the Falcons. Fitch Falcons are going to be playing 6 away games and 4 home games this year, but some very good games that we're going to be looking at, and that I'm personally excited for. A couple games that we should have circled. The one game, obviously, opening it up with Cheney. That's going to be a great game. They're bringing back that old rivalry. We always know that rivalry. Back then, they always had opening game was always Cheney and Fitch. They're bringing back that tradition. Nice to see. After, of course, we know Cheney was gone for a 10-year hiatus. Yeah. Finally came back last year, and I mean, had a little bit of struggles, didn't have any home games. They don't have a home field really to play on. They kind of play kind of like how Mooney and Ursuline and East do as well. But they were really just trying to figure everything out. And I mean, they had some great athletes. They figured it out towards the end of the season, but give them a 10-game season. And I think Cheney is a team that's going to be a lot tougher.
I think they're going to play well.
I do too. And I mean, Coach Emil, I'm a huge fan of Coach Emil of Cheney and what he's done with his boys over there. And I think Cheney is a team that's going to be one to look out for in the area for sure this year. They're going to be at Canton McKinley. Falcons are, that is, Fitch. At Glen Oak. Ursuline's going to be another good matchup. It's going to be a rematch of last year. We saw Falcons were able to take that. September 17th at Cardinal Mooney. And don't forget, Cardinal Mooney is now playing at Mineral Ridge, I believe, for the Rams' new stadium. They're going to play all their home games now at Mineral Ridge instead. So that one will be at Mineral Ridge. Going to be another good matchup. These are the two matchups that you got to look at. September 24th, Massillon, Washington comes in the town. That's a home game for the Falcons. And anytime those two teams have met up, it's always been a pretty big clash. You remember them beating?
They played last season.
They beat Massillon that one year that Falcons went undefeated in the regular season, 10-0. And I think they beat them in an extra point or a field goal win. I remember that. But that'll be a good one. But the other one, October 1st at Canfield. That's a matchup that we all wanted last year. Both Canfield and Fitch were 6-0 in the regular season. Canfield had a deep run in the playoffs themselves. Fitch was able to get that first win against Twinsburg. They ended up falling against Harding. But this is another matchup between Canfield and Fitch that I think is going to be a really fun matchup. October 1st, too. So it's going to be a little bit warmer, not as cold. And that's going to be
that's exciting.
That's going to be a fun one to watch. We'll take a look over at Springfield's now. Because these are the three teams I wanted to look at, because those are the three teams I had the biggest questions for. So we'll take a look. And I mean, not even wasting any time. And I remember this game, and I can't believe I forgot to comment on it before. But this is the game they wanted. Springfield and South Range. That's another dream matchup. That's happening on August 20th, opening night. 7 p.m., Springfield and South Range, two teams that had deep playoff runs, again, undefeated in regular seasons. Both teams really, really good teams last year. And then, of course, Brookfield, Geneva, Lowville, Mineral Ridge, McDonald, Waterloo, Jacksonville, and Western Reserve, and Sebring is on Springfield's schedule as they have to close out. But, I mean, that's MVAC facing NE8 right there in game number 1. It's a non-conference game, and home game too. So South Range is coming to Springfield, and we know how loud the Springfield Tigers fans faithful get in New Middletown, and that'll be a great game because South Range travels really well as well. But football being back in the Valley looks like, for the most part, I don't think I've heard any restrictions as far as attendance.
I haven't heard anything
about
it.
Concerned.
No.
So we're going to be back at full capacity. Talk to me about what that's going to be like, too, for these athletes. And, I mean, in almost, 2019 was the last time we've had a full capacity high school football stadium.
Right.
2019. So this has to be an exciting time for players and coaches
I
right
hope
now.
so. I hope everyone's taking it like that. I mean, it's going to be so much more exciting when you have everyone in the sections, the whole student section going. It's a Friday night, like especially the Canfield game. I mean, it's going to bring a lot of energy back to the sport.
I mean, even when we announce games too, when we're there live at a game, having a live, energetic fans and crowd makes our job so much more enjoyable too. When fans are loud and screaming and energetic, whether you're happy or you're mad, as long as you're reacting to something, it makes it such a much more enjoyable experience, not only for the announcers, but as a watching experience for people at home. Because whether you know it or not, watching at home, you want to hear that crowd noise. And that's another thing that I realized too, watching professional sports through that whole crazy COVID year, is not seeing the fans in the stands and how much that affected watching at home. And I didn't
Yes.
think initially watching on TV, okay, no fans are in the stands, whatever. I'm still
Yeah.
watching the game, but that played such a huge role on watching, and it made me not want to watch
Well,
sports
yeah,
sometimes.
because the big shots felt like they didn't mean anything.
Yeah, when
No one
nobody's
reacted.
cheering. Exactly. When there's moonshots being hit, no one's cheering, or when
Yeah.
someone hits that big three and it's in an empty stadium down in
And
Florida.
you have to rely on Jeff Breen.
Yeah.
There,
And it's quiet too, and you don't hear them. And when they yell, it's an echo that you're
Yeah.
hearing bouncing off.
Yeah,
That's
echo.
so weird. That's going to be something that we're going to be talking about years down the road, and I think it is going to be odd. And you mentioned earlier about people forgetting about sports and the NBA championships this year and last year, and forgetting about the asterisk. And I don't get me wrong. I don't think that there needs to be an asterisk next to it, but I don't think that this is going to be a sports year that any of us are going to forget anytime soon. Just because you're going to look at the games from this year and you're just going to see these empty stadiums, you're going to see the masks, and people are going to know something's different. When you go back and you want to try to watch clips and stuff of this World Series, people are going to know it's
That's
different.
true.
Do you think MLB, future World Series, are going to use any clips of the World Series last year, or NBA for future? Do you think the Lakers NBA championship games, do you think any clips of no fans in attendance are going to make it?
I think they're going to be hard pressed to use those clips. I wouldn't.
And it's unless you're doing it as far as a promotion is concerned for look how far we come or whatever you want or what
Sure.
have you. But no, I don't think you're going to see a lot of that as far as advertising is concerned, but it's not something I don't think you could blackball either from history,
No,
because
but
it's there. But
I mean, if you remember, if you know, it's kind of the thing. If you know, you know.
yeah, and it's going to be one of those stories that us, as we get older, telling generations that come after us too about.
When you look back and see the score sheets and look back and be like, well, you have to remember this fact.
Yeah,
This
and when
is-
you look at the score sheets or the box score and you keep seeing attendance 0
Yeah.
at the bottom of every single
You're
one,
like, is
and you're
this a
like,
glitch? No, it's not
happened?
a glitch.
No, nobody was there witnessing it, and I mean, that it's going to be crazy, and there's going to be stories and history books. There's going to be things written about it, but
Absolutely.
no, that definitely was crazy and refreshing and nice for, I think, not only us, but I think big companies, the owners of these big professional teams, and even like these colleges, to see how truly important it is for the fans to be there. Not only for the fact that they just supply you money, obviously, they supply the money by
They're
tickets,
your base.
but how much they bring in viewership as far as outside of the arena, television viewership too, how
Yeah.
much they help. And I mean, like I said, I never considered that a contributing factor in television viewership, but how full the crowd is, I've noticed, makes a huge difference. I even watch games, and if there's not a huge crowd in it, it's not nearly as exciting as if it's packed house. Everybody's cheering on everything.
It's funny you say that. I remember I was watching a Brooklyn Nets game, but way before, just when they had like Joe Harris on the team.
Yeah.
And it was like there was no one in the stands, and I was like, oh, this is kind of depressing. I don't know if I want to watch this.
And that's exactly what it felt like. I mean, the whole underlying tone was depressing watching sports, and getting this back at high school sports too. And we know how much Northeast Ohio loves high school football. Like, eat, sleep, breathe high school football in Northeast Ohio. It is absolutely
Without
huge
a doubt.
here. And to see that we're going to have full capacity stadiums all around this quadrant of the state on Friday night, come August, I think 20th is opening night.
Mhm.
August 20th. Oh boy, it's going to be loud on Friday nights, and Friday nights are going to feel a little bit more normal here in Northeastern Ohio. And it's going to be exciting to see. And there's some games that I feel like were on the docket last year that we were stripped of seeing a tremendous crowd, and one that we talked about too, that game, Steubenville and Fitch.
Oh my goodness.
Imagine the crowd on hand for that.
And there was already a crowd.
Yeah, there was a pretty decent crowd for that, and we're talking limited crowd, and yeah, we know how well
If
Steubenville
you could have
travels,
filled the
but-
grandstand on that, oh my goodness.
But with Fitch too doing what they were doing, it was a great game, but it was another game too that just doesn't feel the same without fans. And I mean, when you know, commenting with and without fans, how different something like that feels. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting time for players and for coaches. I mean, these kids too, they got to be feeling relieved after watching some of their teammates. Baseball a couple years ago didn't get a state championship, didn't even get a playoff, didn't get a season. And now they're going to be able to get a season when everything a year ago was up in the air. And that's kind of crazy looking back at it. When you watch Running Point or you watch the Power Hour from a year ago from this date and a few days before, just how different the underlying tone is. And you probably see all of us talking about, or do we even know if we have a high school football season coming around? Because we didn't even know if DeWine was going to allow a high school football season to happen to begin with. And we didn't know if we were going to have it. And it was like last second we were able to have it, but different feel, and how that feels so long ago, but so close at the same time. That was just a year ago where we almost didn't have football in Northeastern Ohio, and now full force, we're back, and it's going to be great with some great matchups all over. And I mean, we're going to be covering all these schools all around the area, but a lot of new changes, new ADs, new coaches, some areas. But I mean, overall, it looks to be another really good high school football season. I don't know, though. I mean, looking at these teams, it's going to be really interesting to see if these teams are going to be as good as they were last year, as bad as they were last year. Because last year, is it really a season that you can measure as far as, success and failures are concerned? Because it was an odd year for everybody. And teams had players randomly go missing for 2 weeks at a time because they tested positive. Teams would get shut down and not be able to practice for weeks at a time. Do you think it's fair to even look at anything that teams did last year and try to apply any of that to this year?
Well, I mean, if you look specifically, I think there's a lot of things you can grab from it. I mean, especially if we're going to look specifically at Fitch. I mean, there wasn't too much of that. I mean, it happened a little bit, but depending on who's coming back and what they're doing, I think they're set up for a really nice season going forward. But I mean, I think you're going to have to really look at the specifics on that as far as individual teams, what players go where, and how that affects, the outcomes of those.
Go on. I'm sorry.
No, that was it.
Well, not to mention too, last year we had a 6-game season. Everybody made the playoffs, which was another weird thing because
that's the truth.
Now you're playing in the regular season knowing you can already make the playoffs if you win or lose. So, I mean, and that's not taking away anything from kids' efforts, though. But I mean,
it's a different mentality.
Are you really laying out for that ball then? If it's a game, well, if I lose this game, and I mean, that's not pointing fingers at any kid, and we're not saying anybody in particular is doing that. But I mean, it's more of a question, and it's more of a, does that run through certain players' minds then? If it
could,
hey. Who cares if I win or lose this game because we're making the playoffs anyway?
Yeah.
I don't need to lay out
there's
for that
another
catch,
game.
risk hurting myself. Like, I mean, you got to figure that's going to be a thought process, and it's going to be interesting to see what these teams. Because I agree with you that Fitch. I think Springfield is set up for another year as long as Brungard is at the helm throwing behind center. I think you're going to be just fine. But it's going to be interesting to see going from 6 games to 10 games, and now all of a sudden playoffs are expanded, but you still have to earn your way into the playoffs. You still have to win games to make it to the playoffs. But I don't know. For me, there's going to be your little things. Of course, like fundamentals wise, you can look at what you did game to game and take it. But I think wins and losses against any teams last year mean absolutely nothing. So Fitch beating Boardman means absolutely nothing. Fitch going 1-1 against Harding means nothing with them playing them again this year. I don't think so, because I don't think you can truthfully gauge that with the way players were coming and going last year. Teams were being sidelined for 2 weeks at a time, not being able to practice. I mean, can you really gauge any of those wins and losses? I mean, you could count on it and use it to hang your hat on, or use it as, bulletin board
you
material. But is there really any weight to a win or a loss that happened last year?
I mean, as far as that's concerned, I guess no, right? I mean, you have to just go forward and look at what's in front of you, right? I mean, to look back on that, I guess, in the next season is, what's that do for you, right?
Yeah.
You're left with almost nothing.
And that's not taking away the success that these teams had last year, too, because everyone started with the same deck of cards. It was just sometimes people get dealt different hands, but everyone started with the same things in place. It wasn't one team. If your guy gets COVID, you have to be out 2 weeks. You only have to be out a week. It wasn't like that. So every team did start with the same rules in place. Some teams just got dealt a worse hand. I guess it's more or less something that I feel like you can't, because the past is the past anyway, you can't really play into it. But I mean, sometimes teams, when regular seasons are going on, back-to-back regular seasons, you could look at a game like, well, we have most of our guys returning. Here's what we did well against this team. Here's what we do. And you could still look at plays, obviously. What plays work, what plays don't. But as far as like wins and losses, now you have to, when you're looking at those plays, you have to account for, oh, wow, they have a really nice edge rusher that missed this game that we're going to have to account for now. Or, wow, this guy's really good at catching on the sideline, and we're going to have to account for this. He wasn't there last time, or and even just that, or the teams that got shut down for 2 weeks too. That does a lot.
Yeah.
Too. When you're shut down even if you're working out by yourself, not being there with your team, running drills, listening to your coach, getting like that is going to have a tremendous impact on players. And I think that, and combined with all the shutdowns that we had with everything, I think it kind of opens up this season to be fresh, as it already is going to be fresh. Everyone starts out with a record of 0-0, but it feels different because not that last season didn't feel like a football season, but we all felt something was off. Watching any sport, professional, local, college, sports were different. Something felt off. And it's not that what they did, how they competed, how they played, the accolades, what these athletes did, take nothing away from that, because all the accomplishments and all the game-winning shots, all the big base hits and the big touchdown passes and touchdown runs, the big interceptions, all that, still praise these athletes for what they were able to do. And in a very strange year too, where they didn't know if they were going to get sick year to year, and they had to play careful. And remember how it was you being in high school, how much you and I went out in high school, and how hard that must have been for some of these athletes to stay in at high school. So commend them, obviously, and we're not taking that away from them, but it's going to feel different because it feels like football is truly back in Ohio again, and sports are truly back. We get that, but we get that feeling more with professional, but now it's going to really feel like it too with football coming back and seeing these stadiums packed to the gills, full of people, just, oh my God, driving past them, hearing the bands playing and everything. It's going to be a great time back in Northeastern Ohio, and one I'm definitely I'm looking forward to, and I'm going to be excited for.
I'm going to be really excited.
And I mean, make sure to, and if you're typically a person that goes to high school football games, good, go to more this year. If you're not someone that doesn't go to them, try to make it out to one or two, because these schools, especially after last year losing out on all those profits, we know how the OHSAA were playing with it as far as profits too in the playoffs. These schools, in some instances too, can still use your support and all that. So be sure to support the booster clubs, go to the golf outings, get the pepperoni rolls, get all those fundraisers, participate if you can. Obviously, we know how hard, COVID's hit a lot of people, but if you can, participate in that. Go to the game, support these kids, whether or not you've ever been to a game or not. Try it out too, because whether you're a fan of football or not, I'll tell you what, a high school football game, there's a different type of feeling when it's high school, and you see the parents all in the stands. There's a whole different type of feeling when it comes to high school games over professional. So yeah, definitely get out there, support these local teams and these schools, because they're gonna really need us going into the season to show up full force and really pack these stadiums as much as we can. We'll take another real quick break here on Running Point, come back with a couple of new topics. Maybe we'll go into the NFL schedules of the Browns, Steelers, and Patriots. We'll take it up. Also, we'll want to hear from you. Call in on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline at 330-886-0813 or comment here on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, or on the website itself. Shoot a comment down on our question for the second hour of the show. Which high school football team do you think has the toughest schedule going forward? Want to hear from you after the break. Get us all your comments or call into the hotline and let us know your thoughts. And we'll be back right after this on Running Point.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
If you're looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle, why shop anywhere else but Tri-State Ford? Choose from our great selection of pre-owned vehicles. Plus, we've got you covered with our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage. It includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty with your pre-owned vehicle and much more. Come see why so many customers from the Tri-State area buy their pre-owned vehicle at Tri-State Ford.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back, everybody, to Running Point. Ty Bartell joined alongside Brandon Colangelo, filling in for Ron Potesta as we wish him the best of luck on a speedy recovery and hopefully get him back on the show as soon as possible. As we go into our next topic of the show, but before we do that, let's take a real quick look at Bob Scene Park. Couple of games going on tonight for you as Athletics takes on Creekside Fitness, with Creekside acting as the home team. That's going to be over at Scene 1 at 7:30 p.m. And Dura Edge will be taking on the Prospects, with the Prospects as the home team over at Scene 2, same time at 7:30 p.m. Athletics taking on Creekside Fitness again. Athletics coming in at 10-12 on the year. Creekside 14-8. As Dura Edge, the even 11-11 on the year, takes on the Prospects, who are 13-9. I believe those are both 3-game series that they are locked up in. But take a break and shift over from baseball for a second, Brandon, and let's go right into football. We wanted to talk about schedules. I know the guys talked a little bit about what they saw each team individually doing in the NFL record-wise. But we're going to talk more specifically on 3 specific teams in the Browns, the Steelers, and the Patriots. And Brandon, since we both know you and me don't like the Patriots, the Steelers, the Steelers we're not too fond of, but try to be fair as we can, as we know there's a lot of Steelers fans to start. And here we go. First game of the season. September 12th game, 1 o'clock start. It is the Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. That game right there, Brandon, I mean, this is, of course, way too early to call. We don't know injuries, of course, ahead, and who are we to talk about anything? But we have a show, so we're gonna talk about the scores anyway. So Steelers and Bills, Brandon. You're looking at this game. We already know Bills making it to the AFC Championship, falling to the Chiefs, and the Steelers losing to the Browns in the AFC wild card. Yes, the wild card to the Browns. When you see this game, what are you looking at here? Who do you have? And if you have a score, you can shout the score out as well, and give me a reason why.
I'm thinking it's going to be an interesting come out first game for them up in Buffalo. I don't know. As a Browns fan, I don't know if they take that.
You don't think it? Give me a score. Let's get
a score. Oh geez.
Give me a score. You don't have to give me an exact score. Say by a touchdown, by 10. You could just give me a differential.
Lose by 7. Lose by a touchdown.
You think Steelers lose by 7? So Buffalo by 7 in game
Ben
1.
throws a pick in the 4th.
Oh, now he's going more specific with it. As far as this game's concerned, I like Pittsburgh in it. And the reason I like Pittsburgh in it, as much as I hate Pittsburgh, I will say they are a team that is hit or miss. They either start really hot or they start really cold. I've seen them start 0-4 in a season. We've seen them start 11-0. But for me right now, as much as I do like Josh Allen and as much as I like Stephon Diggs, I still feel that the Steelers' culture of winning with Tomlin and Roethlisberger there is still strong enough that I think that they'll win this game. And it'll be by some either heroics on the defense, which is still very good, or something Ben's doing. I'm going to take Pittsburgh by 3 in that first game. Second game, Raiders at Steelers, September 19th. 1 o'clock game for that one. What do you got?
I think the Steelers could probably win that.
I think handily with that. I think the Raiders are in a situation right now where they don't know if they want Derek Carr as their quarterback.
That's the thing is I was going to say, I mean, are the Raiders even looking to make moves? Are they
Don't get me wrong, because I think Darren Waller, I think Josh Jacobs, I think they have some solid pieces there too. And I mean, Ruggs, it was a huge addition, but I want to see if Derek Carr is the guy, and he really hasn't shown that. He took him to the playoffs that one year, got injured, didn't get to play in the playoff game. We really haven't seen anything. I think Pittsburgh will take this one fairly handily. I'll say Pittsburgh by 10 in this one, and I'm only saying that
I could see by 2 touchdowns.
You think 2 touchdowns? You want to say Pittsburgh by 14? I think Pittsburgh by 10 because the Raiders have chances to beat. We see them beat the Chiefs last year. Like Derek Carr has those shining moments, but I don't know if I trust Gruden either as the coach because I don't know how good Gruden is.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is going to be an interesting matchup too. A lot more interesting than people think. September 26th, the 1 p.m. matchup: Bengals at Steelers.
The Bengals.
Yep. Joe Burrow gets that. You would think he'd be back from injury.
I hope
by
so.
then. You would hope injury doesn't keep Joe Burrow. They got Jamar Chase too on the team. Who do you got in this Pittsburgh Bengals matchup at Pittsburgh too?
I think the Bengals just they have a lot of good things happening for them right now. A lot of good draft picks, a lot of good pickups, but I just don't think they have enough to win this game. I think the Steelers they'll just wipe them.
You think? I'd say Pittsburgh by 14 in this one. I think 2 touchdowns they could easily.
Yeah, I think they'll just take them right off the field.
All right. You want to give me a differential on that, or do you want to just say
no? We'll just
whitewash. It's a blowout. Okay,
they're going to beat their heads in. I mean,
this is an interesting game because it's contingent on one thing: Packers, Steelers. Steelers at Packers, October 3rd, 4:25. Let's just say for the time being right now, because they did yesterday too, Aaron Rodgers is not getting traded. Aaron Rodgers is
true
on the Green Bay Packers. Let's say for the sake of this game and this discussion, Aaron Rodgers is playing for the Green Bay Packers. Steelers playing in Lambeau Field, October 3rd, 4:25. For me, personally, I don't care about the thing. Aaron Rodgers has a problem with the front office. I don't think he has a problem with the team around him. And Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field with Devontae Adams healthy, I think they could beat the Steelers.
I think they can.
Whether or not there's issues between Rodgers and the front office or not, because I think Rodgers still is good enough with the team that I think Rodgers and playing in Lambeau Field, I think it's a close one. I do, because I think Pittsburgh still has a defense that can compete with Green Bay. I really do. But I would say Green Bay by like a touchdown in this one.
I think I can go with that call too. Yeah, especially if Rodgers is there, it's going to be super, super difficult game for Pittsburgh, even if their defense is going on all cylinders.
The next week, it'll be October 10th. It'll also be a 1 o'clock game at Pittsburgh. Broncos come in to visit. Broncos at Steelers. And this is funny because everyone seemingly is saying that might be where Aaron Rodgers goes. So you could kind of replace the Packers game with this Broncos game and flop them around if you want to, depending on where Aaron Rodgers is. But this is a situation at Pittsburgh. Drew Lock is good enough to be in the league. He's not good enough to be a starter, in my opinion. And the Broncos are they don't have enough, I don't think, to beat the Steelers team in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh takes this one by 2 scores.
I think that's a good win for Pittsburgh too.
So we want to go Pittsburgh by what, 14 for you? Or you want to go, I'd say Pittsburgh by 10 on this one.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh by 10.
And next game, this one will be a very interesting one. This one is in Pittsburgh as well. And it's a prime time game, 8:20 p.m. Seattle Seahawks taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, October 17th. That's an interesting matchup. Seahawks, of course, we don't know what's going on with that defense, but Russell Wilson is still on the team. And if you want to go quarterback to quarterback, I think Russell Wilson
wins.
Yeah, better than Ben Roethlisberger. And as much as that might break DJ's heart right now, Ben Roethlisberger currently is not better than Russell Wilson. I do think Russell Wilson's better, but looking at that quarterback matchup, we think goes in the favor of Russell Wilson, but Steelers defense is going to be infinitely better than the Seahawks team. And we know how much defense plays a part too, especially as the temperature starts dwindling down. October 17th, so you might not have to worry about that necessarily. But defense is still going to be a huge part, especially with them being in Pittsburgh. For me, this is a game that I don't think Russell Wilson has enough offensive pieces to keep up with the scoring that Pittsburgh is going to have against Seattle's defense. And I think Pittsburgh's going to win this one. Something close, but I'll say by like 4.
I'll call it within 3. I think it's a close game, but, I think it's a winnable game for Pittsburgh. I really do. At home, at the prime time game, like you said. But I don't know, man. Call Seahawks by 3.
Seahawks by 3. We'll go Seattle by 3. Next game on the docket, it's the big one. It's Halloween night, or Halloween day, 1 p.m. Steelers at Browns. And this is going to be a fun matchup too. Halloween.
Scary matchup.
Yeah, it is. And this is going to be a good matchup too. And it's one I think everybody's waiting for. This is a situation too. You'll get a glimpse at our Browns picks. Actually, you know what? Why don't we put those ones on hold for the end? We'll call all the Browns Steelers or the Browns Patriots, Steelers Patriots, any of those at the end. So we'll put the October 31st matchup on hold for right now. The Bears come in, though, to play the Steelers November 8th in Pittsburgh. That's going to be a Monday night game, 8:15 p.m. Of course, the Bears drafting Justin Fields on the team. Will he be starting by that point is going to be a good question. But who do you like in this matchup of Bears and Steelers, Brandon? Bears, of course, making the playoffs as well last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like the Steelers in this matchup personally, honestly, but the Bears could do something. It's just that home intensity in Heinz Field, man. That's a tough field to play at.
It is a very tough field, and I think with the quarterback situation being up in the air right now, it's hard for me to say definitively. If I saw Justin Fields obviously playing a few games in NFL football and I see what this guy can do, I like the team that the Bears have. I like the surrounding pieces. I'm just not real sold on what they're doing with quarterback right now, unless Justin Fields is starting. But even then, I don't know what Justin Fields is going to be putting up, because Ohio State quarterbacks traditionally have never transferred over to NFL really well. Even though he is originally from Georgia, it will be interesting to see. I'm curious to see if Justin Fields is going to be starting by that. But I will also take Steelers, and this one I'm going to take Pittsburgh by 6. Who do you have? Or by what score did you say?
Pittsburgh by 7. We'll say.
All righty, next game. It's going to be the Detroit Lions, November 14th, coming into Pittsburgh at 1 p.m. Can we just skip it all and just say, sorry, Jeff Bezos, but this is going to be decimation for the Lions.
Yeah.
But let's do due diligence and keep it fair. So they had the big trade. Matthew Stafford is now an LA Ram, but Jared Goff has now been on the move too.
Do we think Jared Goff is it?
Do we? I don't. I mean,
I personally don't.
I think this is a Pittsburgh win by 2 touchdowns easily, even though Jeff Bezos thinks that's going to be one of the Lions' 2 wins next year.
Really? Wow.
But I think I think the Lions right now are still having an identity crisis, and they're trying to figure out who they even are. And I think Pittsburgh knows who they are. They know that they're aging out. They know Ben is on his last tenure, but they at least have an identity right now, where I think the Lions don't even know what type of football they want to be playing. So I'm going to say Pittsburgh by 14 in this one.
I think that's a fair bet. I think Pittsburgh wins that game. Easy.
All right, next up on the docket, this is going to be a good matchup. November 21st, 8:20 p.m. game. It's going to be the Steelers at the LA Chargers. And Brandon, you may call this one an upset. I don't consider it an upset. I think the home team takes it all the way. I think this is Justin Herbert is going to have is going to continue his success from last season. I really do like the play of Justin Herbert. I really like this LA Chargers team. And I like this LA Chargers team against Pittsburgh.
I just don't know if they're going to have
home.
enough, man. I really don't know if they'll have enough to beat them. But they are at home. They are going to be in LA. Or, well, where are they at now? They still in LA? Where are they at?
LA night game at home. I mean, with Herbert, I like Herbert there. I love Keenan Allen still too.
Yeah, it's true. He's recovery after the past couple seasons, a down season. He had a nice last season.
Yeah, and I mean they had a solid season last year, and I think Herbert's going to keep getting better. But I think the Steelers typically have in a season 1 or 2 games that you feel like they shouldn't lose, but they end up losing. But they also have 1 or 2 games that you feel like they really shouldn't win, and they end up winning. But in the same way that I think that the Pittsburgh probably shouldn't beat the Seahawks, because I do think it'll be a close game. I think they will come on top of it, but I think in this instance, they probably should beat the Chargers. But for some reason, something's telling me that the Chargers at home in LA, they're going to be able to pull one off against Pittsburgh here. And I'm going to say LA by a touchdown.
That's a good call.
Is that what you want to follow up with that? You say an LA touchdown, or you got different? You thinking different?
I think it might be a little bit of a closer game. I don't know. I think it's LA by 3.
LA by 3. All right, next game up on the docket again. Steelers and Bengals, their second matchup, November 28th at 1 p.m. This will be at Cincinnati. What are you thinking for that one, as Joe Burrow gets to play in the jungle?
I don't know. I don't think they're winning that one either.
Joe Burrow is an interesting X factor because he does give you the feeling like he can win any game, because this guy is pretty talented, and I love him having Jamar Chase. I think it's going to do wonders for that Bengals offense. But I also think this is a case of just big brother taking it to little brother again.
Well, I mean, what is this, week 11, 12?
I believe so,
at this point. I mean, if he's playing good at this point, if they've found something in Jamar Chase, if they work the offense out and he's comfortable in the flow, I mean, he's a dangerous quarterback. It's just going to be interesting to see if by that point he's really feeling it, and if he's feeling it at home even. I don't know.
I'll say Pittsburgh by 10 in this one.
I think they win. I think Pittsburgh wins this.
All right, we'll just give you a Pittsburgh W. We won't.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I don't know about the scores.
All right, and this one, very, very late first matchup for them, but December 5th, 4:25 p.m., the Ravens come into town to play the Steelers. A December 5th first matchup. Their next one doesn't happen until January 9th. This is very late for them to be playing the Ravens, but this is a game that might have some huge playoff implications come December 5th.
I mean, it's going to be an absolutely massive game. Huge for Pittsburgh, huge for the Ravens. It's going to be interesting to see if the Ravens come in with everything back the way it was.
For me, I mean, it's hard for me to pick because I do feel pretty strongly about both these teams and how I feel they're going to do. Honestly, what I was going to do, I don't know if I can give a score either way. I'm just going to think that Pittsburgh wins at home and Ravens win at home and just split the series. Because I don't think either of these teams can beat the other 2 games in a season if everybody's healthy. That is. Because I feel like the Steelers might punch the Ravens in the mouth at Pittsburgh, might figure out something, a defense for Lamar. But I think Lamar might be able to adjust come that January 9th game. By the time they play in Baltimore again, that they might be able to do something. And by the time January 9th comes around too. But also December. And here's another big factor that you might have to consider. Snow and rain are a lot more prevalent in Ohio at that point. The run game is going to be a lot more utilized. You got Najee Harris on one side with the Steelers. You got Lamar, obviously, on the other side, and J.K. Dobbins coming off the backfield as well for the Ravens. But that's another matchup where a running game is going to be very interesting, too. And, I mean, we could talk a little bit after this about how we feel Najee Harris is going to do with the Steelers. Some people are really high on him. Some people are really low on him.
I don't know.
But we'll have to talk about that later. But for that one, I'm going to just say Steelers at home. They're going to win it. It's going to be close. Give me Pittsburgh by 3. You just giving Pittsburgh a W against the Ravens, or you want to give a score with that?
I'm going to go Ravens by 7.
Ravens by 7 in Pitt.
Yeah, I think they beat them in Pittsburgh.
All righty. Next game up, it's going to be Steelers in Minnesota to take on the Vikings, the December 9th matchup at 8:20 p.m. It's another case of Kirk Cousins, good quarterback. Vikings, mediocre team. Steelers, I think it should be a win for them.
I think it's an easy win.
I think Steelers should go in there, win by 2 scores. I'll give them Pittsburgh by 10. Brandon, you're saying it's a Pittsburgh win.
It's a good win.
Next up, though, and this is going to be interesting, Titans at Steelers, December 19th.
The freight train comes.
This is a matchup that I'm going to say is going to surprise a lot of people, but I think the Titans come into Pittsburgh, and I think they beat the Steelers, and I think they beat the Steelers by 2 scores. I think
they beat them handedly.
I think they come in. If Julio Jones is healthy by the time, I think A.J. Brown is going to take a step. Yeah, A.J. Brown is going to take a step in the right direction, and Tannehill just needs to throw slants to those two and let Derrick Henry run. And, I mean, I'm not trying to take anything away from Pittsburgh's defense because Pittsburgh's defense, there's a lot of guys returning, and it is going to be good, but I don't know, man. That Tennessee team, I think, is going to win a lot of games this year because they have Tannehill, who's not a great quarterback, but he's a quarterback that does enough of his job to get you wins, and you have a freight train in Derrick Henry.
Absolutely.
That can just wear down defensive lines and just get defenses tired and beat up. But yeah, I'm going to say Tennessee by 10 in this one. And Brandon, you want to go one way or the other with that?
I think Tennessee wins. They're just stacked, especially after the Julio trade. I keep forgetting that happened. He's not with Atlanta anymore.
So Tennessee wins. You just want to give them the win?
Yeah, give them the win.
All righty. Next up, and this is another tough matchup. Day after Christmas, 4:25 p.m. Steelers at Arrowhead. to play the Chiefs. And I mean, you look at these next 3 games, and we're going to hold off on the Browns call, but you go Steelers against Chiefs, Browns at Steelers, Steelers at Ravens. Those are 3 huge games that might have drastic implications on where teams end up in the playoffs this year.
Massive. This lineup of their games right now from week 13 on is just huge.
As far as this is concerned, though, Patrick Mahomes has been able to run up points on Steelers defenses, and he's been able to do it twice now, back to back. I think Chiefs and Arrowhead are just they're hard to overcome, man. They really are. And with it 4:25 p.m. day after Christmas, I don't know. It's hard for me to count the Chiefs out in the AFC because I still think they're the team to beat right now. Until someone dethrones them, I think they're the team to beat. I'm going to go Kansas City. I do think Pittsburgh keeps this one close because knowing the way that the Chiefs play and knowing that the way that Patrick Mahomes plays, it's going to turn into backyard football. And Ben Roethlisberger loves playing backyard football.
Yes, he does.
So they are going to win, but I'll say the Chiefs are going to win by, I'll give them 7. Give it a touchdown.
There you go.
And Brandon, you just want to give the Kansas City?
KC's going to win that game, especially in Arrowhead. I mean, you took the take out of my mouth. I mean,
Browns and Steelers, we'll skip that one. And then this next one, I'll let you have the take on this one. Last game of the season. This is the 17th game to the added one. It's Steelers at Ravens, January 9th at 1 p.m.
Sunday game. That's going to be an interesting game. Depending on how it goes before, but if the Steelers are a little beat up right now in this little streak that they have here, games with KC, the Titans, the Browns, the Vikings, however that goes. I don't know. In Baltimore, that's a tough game. I don't think they take that game. They might, but at the end of the season, who knows? Even if they're resting at that point too. But I think that's playoff contention still all the way through the last part of the season for them.
So you're going to give Baltimore the win there.
I think Baltimore takes that game too.
As I gave Pittsburgh the win at home, and like I said, I think they're going to split the series. I said Pittsburgh was going to win at home by 3 against Baltimore earlier in the season. I think in the same way Baltimore wins by 4 against Pittsburgh at home, especially if there's playoff implications. If there's not, and this is just kind of a game where one team's up in the air, it's hard to call that game. But, I mean, if we're going to say right now both teams are competing and competing actively for a playoff spot, I think Baltimore takes that game so far. So we have skipped over the Browns games real quick, but we will look on to that one while we'll look at those ones last, I think, as far as the Browns-Steelers matchups are concerned. But let's see so far how many projected wins each of us have for each team. As we got 7 wins you have for Pittsburgh compared to 7 wins to 8 losses so far is Brandon's prediction. And you know what? There's a lot of people that think Pittsburgh's going to be kind of treading water this year and thinks that they are going to take a step back. And I think that's fair to assume that because Ben Roethlisberger right now is – I don't know what kind of Ben Roethlisberger shows up opening day right now.
Who knows, man?
I don't. After that playoff game against Cleveland, you hope that he comes back motivated, and you hope that stung a little bit, and he let that sit with him. And we saw all the memes about how long he sat on the bench.
Yeah.
But it stuck with him somewhat. You know that it's in his feelings, it's in his mind, whether it's anger or whatever, but it stuck with him. And you got to feel like he's going to come back with some sort of rage. And that's how my take's going to be on it. So let's see what I got for Pittsburgh. I got Pittsburgh so far with 10 wins compared to 5 losses so far. And that's not counting the last 2 games with the Browns, which we will have to talk about at the end so far. But we've previewed the Steelers so far. Well, you can come back. We could preview the Patriots next, save the Browns for last, as we know there's a lot of Browns fans that typically like to tune in and watch. So we'll take the Browns for last, as we will look into the Patriots as Brandon gets to pick on my team a little bit. But so far, 10-5 is what I have for the Pittsburgh Steelers, not counting the Browns games. We'll look at those last. And Brandon, so far, 7-8. So I think Pittsburgh's going to be right back where they usually are, and you think they're going to regress a little bit.
It's about time.
We'll see a little bit more. We'll get a little bit more of those opinions, but we'll take a real quick break and come back, preview the Patriots and then the Brownies right after this on Running Point.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy-efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
"60 years ago, Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods began with 3 siblings, a hand-set sawmill, and a few local orders. And while business has certainly changed over the years, what has not are our principles of hard work, craftsmanship, and commitment to quality. At Baird Brothers, we're proud to put our name on the products we create, from moldings and doors to flooring and lumber. Thank you for 60 great years. We look forward to 60 more. Baird Brothers, for the place you love."
And welcome back, everybody, into this episode of Running Point, Friday edition of Running Point. No, I'm not Ron Potesta with you. It is Ty Bartell, joined alongside Brandon Colangelo as special guest host with you. We're 12 to 3 here on YSNLive.com for the Running Point, as we hope Ron Potesta does get back healthy and full force when he does make his triumphant return. We looked at the Steelers schedule. We so far have the Steelers at 7-8 for you, minus the 2 games with Cleveland, 10-5 for me. We're going to look at the Patriots. We'll go through all 17 of those, then look at the Browns and preview those last 2 Browns and Steelers games, just because Brandon couldn't let me get off the hook without picking on the Patriots a little bit once I pick on his Brownies. So
I have to. I got to get on you a bit.
So we're going to go through this schedule as well. So first game, opening up September 12th, it's Dolphins at Patriots, a 4:25 start. This is a case, too, where I think with what the Patriots have added, though, I don't know what our quarterback situation is going to be, but it is opening day, and it's the Dolphins who also, I feel like, don't know what their situation is right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Tua Tagovailoa, but do they really know if he's their guy right now? I don't know. And I feel like the first 2 games for the Patriots are going to see them get a little bit of much-needed wins that they need, but I'll stick with this game for right now. I think it being in Foxborough, in New England, I think they'll take this game by 4 because I do still think that Dolphins are a team that is heavily on the rise, and I think they're a team that might make a wild card this year. But I think first game, just because it's first game, and it's in Foxborough. I'm going to give New England the edge by.
I think Tua gets 100 yards in the air, 100 yards on the ground.
You think he's going to get 200?
I think he just decimates you.
What's the score you're getting?
I don't know, man. I mean, it's a game that's winnable for them, I think. But the Patriots are still formidable. Like, you guys added all those free agency targets.
And that's my thing, too. I mean, the addition of Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, 2 very good tight ends. It's going to help Cam in the passing game because we already know he can't throw.
Super great.
Yeah. And it'll help with those little dump-off stick passes, those dump-off passes to the side.
Yeah, especially if he's just doing a pull-off to the right.
Two tight ends, extra blockers, too.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we don't know when Mac Jones or if Mac Jones is even going to be a thing this season for the Patriots, so we will have to see. But I do think that's what they're gearing for it to be either this season or next season. But we will see. But I do think with the addition, I do think you're right. I think the addition helps them. But did you want to give a score or did you just want to predict a winner?
I'll give you Patriots the win.
All right, New England with the win. Next game, and I'm going to just call it an easy win, and I'll just say because it's the Jets.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's in New York. I don't care if it's in Foxborough. It's the Jets.
I wish I could say they'd take this out. I mean, yeah, I think that's an easy win. That's 2 easy wins, I think, to start your schedule.
I think that's exactly what they need. But this one is interesting, too, because no Drew Brees.
I was about to say.
No Drew Brees. And the Saints are coming into New England September 26th. It's a 1 p.m. game. This is a game where I feel like Taysom Hill is starting it.
Yeah, right.
But Taysom Hill was successful with the New Orleans when Drew Brees went down again. Like, this is a very good New Orleans team.
Yes, the team's good. It's just that quarterback position, like we said.
But they're also so far down in cap space. And with the Patriots having a lot of defenders returning, I think this is, again, and I mean, with me probably being a little bit more biased towards New England, I try not to, but I think this is another possible win for New England in a sense that they're going to have some defenders coming back. They've made their improvements on offense. And just because, I don't know, though, because it's Taysom Hill better than Cam Newton? I think so. I think right now he kind of is.
He probably is, I guess.
But
I don't know.
I'm going to say toss-up game. Being in New England, give me the Patriots in this one.
I'm going to go Saints on this one just because their team overall is they just have a great team. And without Drew Brees, even at the helm, I think they still have enough to take you on.
Yeah. So you're going to go New Orleans on this.
Yes, sir.
All righty. And, I mean, of course, come game time, I'm going to be saying New England for every single one of these teams.
Oh, of course.
But, I mean, preseason, we'll take a look. I'll predict a couple losses, and this is the one I'm going to predict right now.
Bucs.
The Buccaneers come into town against the Patriots. They're playing in New England October 3rd. It's a primetime game as Brady, preventing injury, will be playing the Patriots for the first time. Chance to beat every NFL team that there is if he does come away with a victory. This is easy for me, not only because it's Tom Brady, but just because of the team's situation. Patriots defense is coming back. A lot of defenders are coming back that's decided to sit out the last season. Mm-hmm. But even with the defense that's coming back, there is so much offense and so many pieces on this Bucs team that is just –
it's just unstoppable. Almost.
It really is. And I think the Buccaneers take this one handedly. I think they're going to take it by more than 2 scores. I think they're going to come in. Tampa Tom's going to come right in and stick it up, Bill Belichick's as soon as he does come into Foxborough. So give me Tampa Bay with the victory, and I'm assuming you're going
I'm taking the Bucs, absolutely.
That's
an easy win.
We won't predict any scores for this one because not as many people care. This is more or less just for my and Brandon's sake. Next is Patriots against Texans. We don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson. We don't know if Deshaun Watson's going to be playing football anymore. And the Texans are just as bad of a fire as it seems the Jets are at times.
Yeah.
This is another game I feel like the Patriots, were sort of blessed this year with having a lighter schedule, especially in that first half of the season. And this is another game that I think is very winnable for New England. And I think it's a game that New England is going to come out on top, especially if Deshaun Watson is not playing for Houston.
I think I go piggyback on that take. I think if Deshaun Watson's not playing, they take this game easy.
Next game, Brandon, I'll let you preview this one because this one is interesting for me. Cowboys at Patriots, October 17th, 4:25 p.m. Dak Prescott's going to be back. But we saw how that Cowboys team was playing last year, even when he was there, and how bad that defense was.
It was horrible.
Did they make the improvements on it? Who do you got in this Cowboys-Patriots matchup in New England?
At New England, Cowboys coming in, hoping Dak Prescott comes back healthy, ready to play football well. I mean, that's a tough one, man. I think I'm gonna have to take the Cowboys though.
Dallas in this one.
I think I'm gonna have to take Dallas, even though it's in Foxborough. But I think Dak Prescott's gonna come back with all that bag he earned and just do something with it.
In this particular situation, I do think that Dak Prescott, it's hard for me. I don't know if Dak Prescott is going to come in and do what everyone thinks he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I know his talents and I know what he is capable of doing, but I haven't seen it enough from Dak Prescott to be completely sold. And I don't know how good this defense is going to be. And if we're going on defenses alone, Patriots, as of right now, I think have a way better defense than the Cowboys do with the guys that are coming back for New England. And I'm going to say New England's going to win this one too, just because the Cowboys are the Cowboys and they find ways to lose games that they shouldn't too. So I'll give New England the win on that one too. And I'm going to give New England the same thing with the game against the Jets at Foxborough because I think that's just too easy.
It's just too easy, the Jets.
So we'll just give that an easy win. That's the October 24th, 1 p.m. game. And now for the Halloween matchup at 4:05. This is a matchup I'm pretty excited for, actually. Patriots at Chargers. This is just a situation where I think preseason-wise, without seeing the Patriots, without seeing Mac Jones, seeing how the offense runs, and seeing what the Chargers already had last year and what they got coming into this year. I mean, losing Hunter Henry does suck to New England. They do lose out on that. But the pieces that they have and Justin Herbert, he got his loss out of the way to New England last year. We already know how rookie quarterbacks don't win against Bill Belichick. So he got his loss out of the way last year. It's in LA. I think the Chargers can put it together and come away with a victory here in this situation.
I think the Chargers take this game too, especially in LA. Patriots coming in, maybe even a little bit inflated in their win column. But I think that takes them down to size a little bit if that's the case.
And the next game, though, Brandon, is one you can give me a preview for. Sam Darnold is now the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, and that is the next game in Carolina, November 7th at 1 p.m. New England taking on the Panthers. What do you got for that game? What do you like?
Sam Darnold at the Panthers. I forgot he was traded. That's going to be a really, really tough call for me to make, honestly. I don't know.
I mean, Sam Darnold has been cursed with being on the Jets, and now he's being handed Christian McCaffrey, a guy that literally can be your offense for you if you don't want to play offense. All you have to do is turn around, hand to him, or do dump-off passes to him, and he'll figure it out. But is that going to be enough? Do you think Sam Darnold is going to be able to make more weapons out of what's around him?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know a lot about him.
These are two teams that I think are trying to really figure out who they are again, but I'm going to pick the Patriots just because the Patriots have better coaching and a better culture than Carolina does.
Yeah, I think I could go along with that sentiment, especially let Cam beat his old team. Why not? Just let it happen.
Next game. This one's going to be close to your heart, Brandon, as the Brownies come in to play the Patriots on November 14th. It's a 1 p.m. game. What do you like on this one, Brandon? As I feel like I already know where you're going to go with it.
I hope it's a win. Well, I don't know. I think the Browns' offense is just super overpowered, and I think they can come in and really put down some hurt, especially Week 10. They should be informed by then, if all things considered in the season, but I don't know. I don't know if the Patriots defense, as much as you touted, can hold that back if they're on full cylinders. If there's injuries and things, who knows what happens? But I think the Browns take this win.
I'm going to sit on the fence and say a tie.
A tie.
No.
Break even.
I think in this situation, it's the Browns are the hottest team on the market right now. They're the fancy new shoes. They're the team that everybody wants because they're on the up and up. They made the big defensive pickups of Hill and Johnson and all that, and as well as Jadeveon Clowney as well. And they made these pickups, and they're the hot team. But
here it comes.
As everybody else zigs, I like to zag. So if everybody wants to pick Browns in this matchup, I'm just going to say New England, just to say, because it's in Foxborough, and Baker Mayfield, he's not going to be able to get it done against Belichick's system.
Now it's Baker.
So we're going to look at that, and I'm going to give New England the win. Brandon's going to give Cleveland the win naturally.
You can make some Fig Newtons.
We're going to be making some bets on that game for some Skittles or some other maybe facial hair bet. Maybe I'll have to take off the beard or something. We'll see.
We'll see.
Next game up, though, Patriots at Falcons. That is 8:20 game, primetime game, November 18th. This one, though, who do you like in this? Says Falcons.
Who do the Falcons have anymore?
Falcons, well, they just made that huge pickup. Pitts, wasn't it?
Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, I think, was the big pickup, that big tight end that they got now. Yep, Kyle Pitts is now on the Falcons. So you got Kyle Pitts alongside Matt Ryan. You got the blocking added. I mean, Falcons in Atlanta, prime time. Again,
it's a winnable game for Atlanta.
Much like the Steelers tend to do, the Patriots also tend to lose games that they shouldn't lose. And I kind of feel like it's the same situation here where they're going to end up losing to the Falcons. And I don't know why. I just have a bad feeling about it. But I'm going to take Atlanta in this one.
Oh, geez. Here it comes.
And I'm assuming you're going to do much.
I'm taking Atlanta. Definitely. Without a doubt.
And the next game, this is the game I think is the toughest on the Patriots schedule. And I'll say that over the Browns any day. Toughest on their schedule is Tennessee coming into town. Julio Jones, newly added to the team. We've already seen what this team was able to do against the defense of the Patriots with Tampa Tom on the team in the playoffs a couple of years back. Mike Vrabel's got a great coaching scheme that he learned in New England that he's copied there, and he just has better weapons around him. I mean, defensively, we talk about the defensive guys coming back. Defenses, I don't care who your defense is. If Derrick Henry's getting the ball 20 to 30 times, he's going to wear those defenses out. And it's going to open so much up for Julio and A.J. Brown, who are just speed burners. It's going to be a nightmare team to face, and I don't care if New England's at home or not. They're going to have a tough time against this Titans team. I'm going to say Titans are coming away victors in it.
Yeah, I think the Titans and Derrick Henry are just going to try and steamroll you. I think that's going to happen. I don't know if the defense is that good to stop any of those weapons.
In this matchup, in these two matchups, there's a December 6th and a December 26th matchup. December 6th matchup is 8:15 at Buffalo. The 26th is at New England at 1 p.m. In the same situation I felt about the Steelers and Ravens, I feel kind of the same with the Patriots and Bills in that I think the Patriots and Bills are going to split in the season series. I think Bills are going to take the home game, but I do think Patriots are going to come away with a victory in Foxborough. And I just feel like the Bills are going to have one of those games. It's an interdivision game. Records kind of go out the window. And, I mean, Bill Belichick has had a history of beating up on the Jets, Dolphins, and Bills. So I'm going to give them one victory against it. But in this game, the December 6th game, primetime at Buffalo, I think it's in Buffalo's favor to get the victory in that.
I could see the Patriots taking that win, though, late in the season, maybe.
Let's give New England the win. Next game, Brandon, talk to me about it. December 19th, Patriots at Colts. Colts having, what's his name? Carson Wentz as their quarterback now. What do you like in this one?
Ooh, Carson Wentz is back. I mean, honestly, I can't speak to their defense too much. I don't know where they were ranked as far as that's concerned, but Carson Wentz against Cam or whoever. I think I'm gonna have to go Patriots here. I don't know. I don't think the Colts win, but they could win. I don't know.
I think in this situation too, I'm not sold on Carson Wentz being a Colt. I think he's going to do infinitely better there than he did in Philadelphia, though, because of the offensive line that's going to be in front of him and the weapons around him. I also think T.Y. Hilton is going to drastically see better numbers because of Carson Wentz being there. This is a tough pick because for me, the Colts are always that team that late in the season, they always find a way to make the playoffs. They have a great culture as well. And they're a team that has a very, very good defense. And they're a team that if Carson Wentz can figure something out with that offense, they could be deadly. And I think Indianapolis, and it's funny because if I take Indianapolis in here, I'm technically giving the Patriots 4 straight losses.
Right.
With losses against the Falcons, the Titans, the Bills. But I am a firm believer that I think this Colts team is going to be very tough this year with a lot of defensive players returning. And with the Patriots trying to figure out who their quarterback is going to be, like you said, I'm going to go the other way on it. I'm going to say Indianapolis is going to win this one. And you said New England?
I think New England can win this.
All right. And New England with the victory. Next one is Bills at Patriots. I already said I think Patriots take one of the 2 games against the Bills. This one's in Foxborough, so this is the one I'm going to give them the win on. And what about you, Brandon?
Yeah, I think the Bills can handedly win this in Foxborough.
So we'll give Buffalo the victory. Next game, Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars come into New England. It's the day after New Year's, January 2nd, yes, at 1 p.m. This is a game, too. Jaguars are kind of cool because they're on the up and up. They got Lawrence. They're talking about
new head coach.
Yeah, I mean, new head coach and Meyer. I mean, Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow's in the mix.
Yeah,
somewhere.
but this is it's a hype train, but it's a hype train that's not going to have very many wins. And I think this is an easy win for New England.
I think it's
against Jacksonville, even with Trevor Lawrence, I still don't think there's enough there.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I think there's just a lot happening right now, and Lawrence isn't going to show up how they always want the rookie QB to show up.
And the final game of the season, Patriots at Dolphins. And much like the Patriots always start off hot and they're able to get wins against the Dolphins at the beginning of the season, lately the Dolphins playing in Miami for the last game of the season for the Patriots has not boded well. As we saw that miracle that happened for them a couple years ago. It got a little bit more than a couple years ago, but a couple years ago, a loss to them as well that took them out of the number 1 seed that made them play the Titans. This is a game, too. I think by the last game of the season, the Dolphins are going to be competing for a wild card spot, and they might need this victory, so they're going to have something a little bit more to play for. And I'm going to say Miami is going to win this one.
Man, you're giving your guys a lot of losses.
I am giving my guys initially a lot of losses until I see, obviously, what they come to the table with. But still, yeah, I'm not completely sold on them yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how Tua plays.
Yeah.
As far as the Dolphins are concerned. I mean, I think the Dolphins could win this too, especially in Miami. I think that's a call.
So Miami. So let's take a look real quick then at the wins and losses of the Patriots. What we predicted. Brandon has the Patriots with 8 wins and
Mm-hmm.
9 losses. So an 8-9 record is what your prediction for the Patriots. Kind of even keel. Let's see what I got for the Patriots. 10 wins on the season as opposed to 7 losses. So 10-7 to 8-9. We're kind of around the same as far as the record. I think the Patriots are going to be a little bit better. I think a winning record. 10-7, I think, is going to compete, obviously, for a wild card, but I don't know if they're going to go much further than that. It'll be interesting to see, and I'm curious to see, with Mac Jones being in the mix, is Mac Jones going to be the guy? And I've never seen the Patriots draft quarterbacks in the first round like that. And I mean, if you're going to draft a guy in the first round, you usually think he's going to be able to contribute. You're not going to draft a guy that's going to be benched. Or if you're going to just draft that, then you might as well draft someone that's going to be of more value in the first round than that. So I don't know when Mac Jones is going to come into play, and I don't know what kind of factor he's going to show on the Patriots, and if that's going to swing some of these games one way or another. But I think right now, New England being in that division where Miami is figuring things out and the Jets are on fire.
Yeah.
The Bills are the only solid thing that, won the division. They were in the AFC Championship, so they're going to look tough next year. That's a team you've got to be able to compete with. And
I mean, that's your main competition.
they added the pieces to be able to do so. They added the 2 huge tight ends. You got N'Keal Harry. You drafted Barmore, which was a huge draft. I'm curious to see as far as what the Patriots are going to feel this year, and it's going to be interesting to see, quite frankly. But nonetheless, we will be done with the Patriots now. As 10-7 is the record predicted so far, 8-9 for Brandon on New England, and we will go into the Browns next as we have to preview the Browns and the 2 games Pittsburgh and Cleveland due up on the docket for this season, and we will of course preview the Browns right after one more quick break here on Running Point. We'll be right back.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Aaron Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience and comprehensive wealth strategy, we assist our clients attain their goals. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit WRSWealthAdvisors.com. Good luck, athletes.
Every customer has a story, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
And welcome back, everybody, to this Friday edition of Running Point as we head into our last half hour of the show. We've already previewed the Pittsburgh Steelers 15 games of their schedule. We previewed the whole Patriots 17-game schedule. Now it's going to be for the thing everyone's been waiting for, the Browns side of things. So we're going to look at the Browns schedule now as
geez,
we already know the opening game, Brandon. As Brandon, an avid Browns fan, so after he sat here and picked on my team for a while, I get to do the same thing.
You can't beat a dead horse. Though.
Tell me about September 12th, Brandon, and what's happening around 4:25 p.m. in Kansas City on September 12th, Brandon.
Oh my goodness, a statement game is happening, an absolute statement game. I mean, like I said on the break, this is going to tell me everything I need to know as a Browns fan going forward to the season. I mean, if you can't win, or if you lose, or if it's close, or just the competitive nature of the game for me, it's going to tell me everything I need to know as far as Texans, Bears, Vikings, Chargers, Cardinals, and onward. But I mean, I want to say they can win this game because they were close to before. It was just they just were slinging the ball back and forth, and the defense just couldn't keep up. But if they keep more pressure, and they're putting more pressure on Patrick Mahomes now with Clowney back in the mix, the new safeties back on it, I think it's a game that they can win. I think it's going to be a little close, but I think the Browns take week one against Kansas City.
So where I stand on the whole thing is this is a matchup I would have much preferred to have late in the season because I think the Chiefs are notorious for starting out hot every single year. Mm-hmm. They always come out of the gates running. They always come out of the gates slinging because it's warm football. They're able to throw the football a lot more, and it's a lot easier. I also think that everyone's talking about everybody returning to the Browns and everything the Browns have added, and I agree with you. I agree that Jadeveon Clowney is going to be a tremendous help of adding that pressure to Mahomes, not letting him get out of the pocket and not letting other guys such as Lamar Jackson get out of the pocket as easily. And guys like Troy Hill and Johnson are going to ensure that, when they stay in the pocket, the passing lanes aren't going to be as wide open. But with that being said, the team still needs to figure out how to play together is my thing. The defense still, and I mean, the defense has had a lot of improvements, but these guys need to learn how to play with each other. Does Baker know how to play with Odell yet? We saw that injury go down in Dallas, and Brown started having all that success after Odell got injured. Do I think Odell makes the Browns better? Yes, just because I think he's a great receiver. But does Baker and Odell have that chemistry yet? I don't think so. I think they need to develop it. I'm going to say Kansas City's going to win this game because it's in Arrowhead, because it's the first game of the season, and because the Browns still haven't had the time to gel completely together. Now, granted, they've kept a lot of the guys from last year, which is signs of a winning football team now. They're starting to play like a football team, but there are new faces and three huge new faces on defense that need to be able to gel with those guys. But I like having Greedy Williams and Ward and Troy Hill along with Johnson and Delpit and then the front line, of Garrett and Clowney. That's a great defense. I want to just see it play together. I want to see it. And I think it can. And I think once it gels together, it's going to be beautiful to watch.
It needs to happen.
But it needs to happen. So we're different on that. Next game up, this is easy for me because in the same way that I don't know if Deshaun Watson's playing for the Texans ever again.
Yeah.
I think the Texans have made some of the worst trades in the last couple of years. I think this is an easy win for Cleveland at home September 19th.
Yeah, I think that's an easy win.
And I think Cleveland takes that one handily against Houston. Next game up on the docket, Chicago comes into Cleveland, the Bears, September 26th. That's another 1 o'clock game. What do you like for that one, Brandon, as the Bears and Justin Fields coming to town?
If Justin Fields is starting, hopefully our defense is going to give him the NFL welcome treatment a bit. I see it as a little bit of that. I think we can win this game pretty easily. I think the Bears are a little bit on their back feet right now, even though they have their kind of defense all set up and they have good pieces. But I don't know. I think the Browns can take this game and home.
I've seen the Browns. The Browns seem to struggle a lot with teams.
Oh, they struggle.
That have good defenses, and I think that's what we saw with Baker struggle with a lot last year. And the Browns are known for losing a lot of games early, and a lot of games they probably shouldn't lose early. And I just look at this game, and it just feels like the right moment for a Cleveland loss, doesn't it? After winning a game at home against the Texans, and then you're 1-1, you're thinking, and then there needs to be that week where all Browns fans collectively think the season's over 3 weeks into the season, because that's one thing I look forward to as Browns fans when when they're 1-2 or 1-3, thinking that the season's completely over. That's what I look forward to, and that's what I want to happen with this game. I want the Bears to come away with this victory against the Browns, just so the Browns fans can think that their whole season's over at 1-2.
Oh, because I think there's a chance after that Bears game, if you go out to Minnesota and you lose in Minnesota, then it's absolute calamity. And then if it even gets worse from there, the season's scrapped. At this point, and this is the first 7 games for me, I think if you lose a 4-game stretch in the first 7 games, I think this team is trash.
And that's very well true, because your next game, you said, being in Minnesota, and that is a trap game. It is. But I do think that the Browns overall have a better team than the Vikings do, and I do think that the Browns should be able, whether it's in Minnesota or not, I do think that the Browns should still be able to go in there and get a victory, because I think that the team overall is better than Minnesota's. So I would say Cleveland in this one.
I was putting it down as an L.
You said Minnesota for it,
because I think it's a game that they can go and easily lose. It's the games they do. They go out and just lose games. They go out somewhere on a road trip and just go and tend to lose.
That's fair. That's fair enough. Browns at Chargers, October 10th, 4:05, and this is what you're talking about, the 4-game stretch where you can't. This is another tough game, and it's going to be another tough game. But it's an interesting game, because I want to see, with them playing in Los Angeles, how that's going to affect Baker, or if it's going to affect Baker at all.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, especially if the Chargers can put it together with Herbert, and if they're actually getting, keeping the game close and the momentum's keeping on turning when it goes back and forth. The score keeps going up. I mean, putting the pressure on Baker there, it's going to be interesting. But
and don't get me wrong, because I do think this Browns team is going to be good this year, but I do not think that they're going to be a top seed. I do think this is going to be a loss to the Chargers in LA.
I was calling it a loss. I thought this away streak was a double loss.
And then they come back to Cleveland in a matchup that I think is going to be a very exciting game, as the Arizona Cardinals is the added game, remember, the 17th game that got added. So Kyler Murray comes into town, Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. This should be a fun matchup. If it turns into a type of shootout or a scoring blitz that it can with the offenses that are playing. I think in this one, though, that as much as I love Kyler Murray and I love him having DeAndre Hopkins, the Cardinals are trying to still figure stuff out. I still think the Browns have the better team in this situation, and I think the Browns being at home should be able to come away with a victory against Arizona.
Yeah, I think this is a good win for the Browns, especially coming off from an away stand and then come back home and get this good win against the Cardinals.
And I feel the same way about the next game at home too. Broncos coming to Browns, and it's the same way I feel as what I said with the Broncos against Steelers. Drew Lock, he's an okay quarterback. He belongs in the league. He doesn't belong as a starter, and that's my problem with it. And I think the Broncos, I like the defensive pieces that they have, but they don't have enough for me to contend with the Browns on paper, at least. So I would give Cleveland another victory there. Next up, we'll wait on the Steelers-Browns. We'll go on the next one then. It is Browns at Bengals for the November 7th matchup. This is, again, a matchup, too, where Joe Burrow is going to be – it's going to be a fun matchup, Joe Burrow and Baker. That's going to be a great matchup. But I also think in the same way I feel that the Bengals are just the little brother of this division. And quite honestly, the Browns, Steelers, and Ravens should be, at the very least, you should be getting one victory out of it. But you should be expecting two. Now, obviously, don't count any team out. Yeah, any team can come up and beat you.
Yeah.
But you should be able to beat the Bengals twice.
Yeah,
right
it's a
now.
team you should look to get 2 wins out of the season.
It's maybe not expected, but you should be able to win against the Cincinnati Bengals twice. And that goes for any of those teams. And I think even in this situation, with it being in Cincinnati, the Browns should still beat the Bengals in this situation on November 7th. So I'm going to give Cleveland the victory just because they should be able to beat them.
Exactly. I go with that.
Next up, we already said you gave Cleveland the victory against New England. I gave them the loss. Next one, Lions at Browns. This is if there ever was a game where not must win, but a game where you absolutely should not lose, this is one I feel like the Browns should not lose.
This is the game that I can see them absolutely losing.
Only game on the schedule where you feel like they should not lose. And like you said, somehow in the pit of your stomach as a Browns fan, I feel every Browns fan collectively feels like they might lose that game.
Because in my heart of hearts, if everything goes absolutely planned, they'll be at this point 8-2. They'll be peak form going into week 11 against a team like the Lions that they should beat, but it just feels like a game every season where it's like everything's on track and then another just cut to the loss.
I gave Chicago that victory earlier in the season because I think that was going to be a game that Cleveland should win, but they don't end up. This is a game that if you can't win, and I'm not to say that great teams haven't lost to really bad teams and gone on to win Super Bowls. I'm not saying that. But this is a team where there's games where you think like, oh, we should win the game, but then there's games you look at and like, no, that's a game like there's something wrong if we don't win that game. And that's a game where the Browns need to be able to beat the Lions, providing obviously Jared Goff doesn't have this resurgence in his career. And we don't know, of course. It's all preseason, so it's all speculation
Lions
anyway.
are undefeated at that point.
Yeah, I mean, they very well could be anything. But at this point in time and going off of what we have that was on paper from last season and what we have and what we've seen from last season to this season, the Browns should absolutely get a victory over Detroit in this and come away.
Yeah, I think they could get the win.
Next up, Browns at Ravens, and they got back-to-back. How about that, too?
Yeah,
November 28th, a rest week, and then December 12th. So Browns at Ravens, November 28th, a primetime game, 8:20, a bye week, and then Ravens at Browns, December 12th. So we might as well do these ones back-to-back because they are back-to-back. So let's just talk about them as one whole. When you see the Ravens, too, back-to-back games, what are you seeing, Brandon? What do you like, and what do you think is going to happen in these two?
I mean, there's three hard games back-to-back, but it's going to be interesting because they're going to be going to they're going to be going to Baltimore. They're going to have to – I think in my heart of hearts, they're not going to have – enough to do it in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson's just going to run circles like he does all time, and he's just going to run through our defense. But, I mean, you'd hope that with all that they've crafted in this offseason and everything that they've gotten that they could stop him now. It's just he makes us look silly every time we play him. He had the miracle game. He came back off the injury last season, right, and then came in and beat us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they can do it this season.
My thing is, it's hard enough to beat a team twice in a season.
Yeah.
But to beat a team twice back to back, yeah, I know the Ravens are going to have a week in between. But for the Browns, there's no way that the Browns should be losing 2 games back to back. But there's also no reason why the Ravens should be losing 2 games to the Browns in 3 weeks. And so that's why I feel like this one has to be a split.
Yeah.
Because it's back-to-back weeks, and I just can't see either team losing, especially the Browns going loss by week loss. Like, I agree with you that I think that they will lose primetime in Baltimore.
Yes.
But after a loss in Baltimore, if you have a bye week and then you play that same exact team again after the bye week and you can't come away with a victory, there's something wrong. But I will give Baltimore the victory.
I have each home team winning.
Yeah, so we'll go Baltimore and then Cleveland with the victory, and then you are much of the same. And then next up is Raiders at Cleveland. Raiders going to have their improvements, but again, I think the question is with Derek Carr, and I think this is another game where Cleveland should be able to come away victorious.
Right, that's what I have down. I think they could win that game.
Next up, though, and we're assuming the same just because we did it with Pittsburgh, that Aaron Rodgers is going to be on the Packers. It's a Christmas Day game at 4:30 p.m. And Brandon, I have to tell you, I'll let you go ahead and do your whole take on it, but I think the Browns going to Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers is going to hand Baker a Christmas-sized ass whooping in Lambeau Field on Christmas Day. That's just my opinion on it. I think Green Bay comes away victorious on it.
Well, and that's funny because I did have them down as a loss for this one. Just because I just don't think with everything the Packers do and have done over history and coming up to this point to the Browns, I just don't think they have the wherewithal to go into Green Bay and just beat the Packers. I really don't.
They haven't had the culture. They haven't built that culture to feel like they could go on and beat a big team like that at home.
And they don't have anyone that they can really do that for that's fair on this schedule until right now, which Ravens is the one before that, basically. And the one that's previous is Kansas City, the first game of the season. So it's like that's your first super test.
And
after
then
Ravens.
After that, they play the Steelers. We'll do that one last.
Yeah.
And then the last game, January 9th, Bengals at Browns. Again, this is one Browns, if they're fighting for a playoff spot, especially, maybe not. But if we're assuming that they're going to be competitive, fighting for a playoff spot, and this has playoff implications, I think the Browns at home against Cincinnati should be able to take a victory here.
If they're at home, I think they can take a victory.
So we'll have to tally up what we have so far, but we have the 15 games of the Browns. Let's take a look real quickly at what Brandon has. 11 wins.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to 4 losses, I believe. Let's see.
I believe so.
Yep, 11-4 would make sense. And we'll see here. And I have them at 9-6 so far. All righty. So 11-4 and 9-6 are the records so far before we preview the Pittsburgh and Cleveland games for the season. And of course, we will do that last, and we're going to do that right after our last break here on Running Point. Preview that and get you on with the rest of the day for our final 15 minutes here on YSN Live's Running Point. Don't go anywhere.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
If you're looking for a new Ford vehicle, Why shop anywhere else but Tri-State Ford? Choose from our great selection of new Ford models. Plus, we've got you covered with our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage. It includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty with your new Ford. Come see why so many customers from the Tri-State area buy their new Ford at Tri-State Ford.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State 40 Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back, everybody, to the tail end of this Friday edition of Running Point. Ty Bartell joining alongside Brandon Colangelo as your special guest host today for Ron Podesta, as he is out. He was under the knife yesterday, so we are wishing him well and good luck and hope that he gets back here safely and healthy when he does do return. Last two games we got to talk about before the end of our show, Brandon, and it's Cleveland and Pittsburgh. One of those matchups happening on Halloween, and that is going to be, I believe, the Halloween matchup is the one that is in Cleveland. So that one is the one we'll be looking at first. Talk to me on All Hallows Eve how this one's going to go.
Well, you know, I can really – I hope that they're at a winning record. They're looking up at form at that point, you know, coming off the Broncos, Cardinals, Chargers at that point. I want to call it a win preemptively just because I think they can do it at home. The Steelers coming in. But it's just hard. It's really hard with this team because you don't know what you're going to see. You just never know. They come out in different looks every year. You just really don't know.
They do. But for me, and it being at home, I absolutely agree with you. The momentum's there. The rivalry is back so far. There's a little bit of animosity there. I want to see a regular season win. And I think here's what I'm going to preemptively say as I make my prediction, because it can change. If the Browns win this game, I think they win the game in Pittsburgh too. If the Browns lose this game, I think they lose the game in Pittsburgh too.
Ooh.
I think this game does set the tone, and I understand, and I get that a lot of people say, you know, it's hard to beat a team twice in a year, and I get that, and I agree. It is very hard, but I think this team, with the way that they are both on a teeter-totter, it feels like, where one big game falls them either way. And I'm saying that with the culture of both of them, with Cleveland's historical losing culture and Steelers' historical winning culture, suddenly in this paradigm shift, they're meeting in the middle, and they're both on this teeter-totter right now as Cleveland's going up and Pittsburgh is coming down. And I feel like this 2021 season is like that perfect center line where they just met. And it's that season where I truly believe, like, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, or Ravens can win this division. And that's why their win-loss totals are going to be so close to each other for me. But it's hard for me. And you know what? With me doing that too, because I didn't want to sit on the fence originally with the pick and say another split because of it. But with me picking that, I'm going to say that gives Cleveland then, for me, a 10 or an 11-6 record. And for me, it would give, so it would give Cleveland an 11-6 record, because I'm going to predict them for 2 wins. So I'm going to say 2 wins. Are you saying 2 wins is I guess the question. Or do you think it's a split?
I like what you said there. Definitely, if they win that game at home, I think that they can go and win that game in Heinz Field. It's just
you could play safe and give them the split then. Playing it safe, if you give them that, it would give you Cleveland at 12-5 on the year.
Well, I think they can split that series. I think they split it. I think they win at home and then they lose in Pittsburgh.
So with that, with me giving Pittsburgh 2 losses and you giving them 1 win and a loss. So our final, it took us a lot longer to get there than the guys did. They just kind of went through the teams and just gave out their records. We went through each individual game of 3 teams. So for the Patriots, you have them going 8-9. I have them going 10-7. Same thing with the Steelers. You have the Steelers going 8-9. I have them going 10-7. And for the Browns, you have them going 12-5, and I have them going 11-6. I'm pretty much around the same keel with all three of these teams right now. I'm probably playing a little bit higher on the New England side of things than it. But I mean, I also think you might be giving the Browns a win or two more than they're deserving. But again, it's all speculation, folks. This is all preseason. I mean, our opinions are about as good as yours right now, speculating. But it's fun. It was fun going through each game, kind of previewing, kind of getting excited too for certain matchups. And I mean, that Halloween matchup, that's a really cool matchup happening in Cleveland on Halloween. Cleveland's playing tickets. Cleveland's a team of festivities. They're playing on Christmas. They're playing on Halloween this year.
They got all the big spots.
Do they play what is Thanksgiving this year? Do they have a Thanksgiving game?
They don't usually. Do they play usually
They
Thanksgiving?
always have I don't know who the Thanksgiving games are this year. I'm gonna have to look it up.
I don't know.
Before we go.
They didn't play last season.
I don't believe they did. I think they have before.
They probably have. I wouldn't be very surprised.
It's the Raiders and Cowboys, and then the Bills and the Saints that are going to be
Bills
playing.
and Saints. That's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, that will be a very interesting matchup. And then Bears at Lions will be a one. So they don't have Thanksgiving, but I mean, they do have the other two holidays, both Christmas and Halloween. So that will be a very interesting, I mean, great matchups. We also saw high school matchups too. We saw the Canfield-Fitch matchup as one that's going to be interesting.
Right.
South Range and Springfield opening the season. That's going to be a great matchup. Talked a little bit about the NBA too. Talked a little bit about baseball and previewed the Indians and this dismal losing streak that they finally ended and are coming back from. But we kind of looked at all major sports right now, kind of previewed what's going on within the network. Very dry time for local sports right now. So it's just trying to get us through to the football season. It's that when summer ball's winding down and getting into football season, there's like that month period.
Transition.
And it's so brutal for us here at YSN, but we try to fill the time in the airwaves with as much as we can for you. As we know, content is king here. So we talked about a little bit of everything though, kind of traveled around all the major leagues. We talked locally a little bit and had a great time talking with all of you as well, and just previewing some major sports and previewing sports and the impact of fans have on sports, and just pretty much a little bit of everything we kind of we touched upon, and all from 12 to 3 right here for our first time hosting Running Point for DJ, the guys, and for Ron Potesta. We don't know when Ron's going to be coming back, of course, but we do hope and wish him the best. Hopefully we will get him back soon, as we know how much Ron has a following here and how much people love Potesta and calling in. But with that, I think, Brandon, that pretty much does it for us here today on Running Point. Had the great opportunity by DJ and the guys for us to co-host and hang out with you guys a little bit from 12 to 3 on YSN Live. I'm not sure if we're having Power Hour following this. We'll have to check on YSN Live and check Facebook, obviously, for details on that. I believe that they are still following it, so you'd be checking out DJ and the guys right here on YSN Live for Power Hour from 3 to 4. Should be good for that one. And yeah, following right after this on Running Point. Brandon, thank you again so much for coming into studio and joining me today. I don't know what I would do without you. You've been a huge help, and really just thank you so much for joining us and just talking sports for a few hours with me here on this Friday morning. And to all of you tuning in and watching, supporting both these kids, schools, communities, or just talking in and hanging out with us here at ysnlive.com. We thank you to our proud owners, both DJ Yoakley and Brian Scott, who are able to bring boatloads of content to you each and every day, most of it being free of charge. To our GM, Steve Leslie, who has that huge connection down at Scene Park that's playing all kinds of playoff games, as we have 2 of them on the docket for you tonight at 7:30. Check those out on ysnlive.com, as well as a few pages you'll be posting them as well, bringing you back to the site. But check them out at ysnlive.com. I believe we had Dura Edge and the Athletics. Let's see, both playing tonight. Yeah, I believe it is. let's get that game real quick. One more reminder for you before we head out. So yes, on scene 1, we got Creekside Athletics at 7:30, and then it's Prospects facing Dura Edge on scene 2 at 7:30. So a couple of games on the network at Scene Park for you tonight. But that's about all. As we said, things are winding down. We're deep into the playoffs now in Scene Park, and going to be wrapping things up down at Scene Park now fairly soon, and then it's all looking forward to football. But again, thanks to both our owners, thanks to Steve Leslie, and thanks again to all of you for tuning in and watching this broadcast of YSN Live. From day to day, supporting Ron Potesta and Running Point, supporting Power Hour, and supporting the local streams. We can't do it without you guys supporting these communities, supporting the school, and so we thank you. This is Ty Bartell alongside Brandon Colangelo, bidding you all a farewell and a good day, everybody.